Uh,
And also, Dave, I was just going to say there probably won't be anything I can't do. It'll just take me a bit longer to get there. On Zoom, I use Zoom all the time, so I can move around on Zoom. It just usually takes slightly longer than usual to do it.
okay, cool, awesome. Okie dokie, right. So that was great. What we're looking to cover today is here's what's on. So we will first of all we'll delve a little bit deeper into some of those whys that you've shared around why you're not looking to refer, because I think if there's blocks there, then that's the most important thing to kind of get over. And I'm not expecting to solve your blocks in a nifty 15-minute segue, but I will at least I hopefully will at least get to the moment where you realize why that block's there and it's maybe not a good one, and then the habits and the behaviors that we'll put in place through some of the like the who, when, hows will just get you through that those barriers until it becomes a little bit more second nature. We will look at how we reward referrals. It's a really it's probably the one piece in this there is no real right or wrong. It's quite a grey area. It depends on you. It depends on the person that's referring you. And so we'll absolutely look at that. We'll look at how to make it easy. There'll be a theme that runs through all of this, which is if you want someone to do something for you, you need to make it easy for them to do that. And so we'll really look at, there's a big chunk there on that. We'll look at how you communicate with your referrers and a little secret tip at the end. Typically, I run about 45 minutes-ish and then a up to 10-minute break kind of thing. That's kind of my normal rough spacing. There are natural break points and they happen a little bit about that. So I need a break as much as you guys probably will from listening to me. So I would encourage you. I can't stop you, obviously, you're all over the place, but I would encourage you not to go and get stuck into a really crappy email or anything too important and actually take the time to refresh. But the choice is obviously yours. You'll get a copy of the slides, you'll get a copy of the recording, everything else. So don't worry too much about kind of scribbling everything down. But if there are I'd like to think there are going to be some light bulb moments for you as you go through this. What I want to be able to do is contextualize everything as we go through so that you can go and take action, and hopefully there'll be kind of some learnings from each other, not just from the content that I'm delivering. And I think that's, for me personally, they're always the kind of the sessions that I enjoy the most, when it's actually everyone's involved and we all learn together. So very, very quickly, for those of you that I've not had much dealing with, a bit about my background, other than being a cute toddler, is I got a background in business membership. Business Scene that you see in the corner there was a membership organisation that I ran after I worked for the Chamber. We grew that to a couple of thousand members, almost entirely through referrals and strategic partnerships. And then some of the other nice brands that you see there are people that I've been responsible for providing leads to. So almost everything, in fact, no, not almost everything, everything that I teach is based on personal experience, about having been there, done that, made the mistakes along the way. In fact, I think we learn more from the things that didn't go well than the things that did, to be honest with you. And so that's what a lot of my learnings are about. So on with the show. A blank screen. A blank screen, because I would like some quick definitions of what we think of a referral, essentially. So a short definition of a referral. I'm going to pick on you first, Kelly.
I just knew it. Right, a referral is when you've worked for someone and they value your work and they pass your name on to someone else because they think that you will offer value to their business.
Okay, I like the use of value there. Yeah, awesome. Okay, Fiona, I'm going to come to you next.
A recommendation from someone, I guess. same as what Kelly said, but
Yeah,
just
okay.
differently, isn't it?
Yeah,
What
okay.
she said.
How many different ways can you say the
Yeah,
same
okay.
thing?
Essie, Natalie,
Like a
anything?
big recommendation.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. And anything you would change, or anything you would add to what Kelly and Fiona have said?
I don't think I'd change anything. I would add that sometimes it doesn't have to be that you've worked with somebody. It's that they've looked you up and seen the value you can add to somebody else as well.
Yeah, I see.
Pretty much what she said. Occasionally it might have been where so it's not a generic referral, it might just be this company wants to speak to this company. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, there are different levels.
Connection.
Yeah, there are definitely different levels of referral. Right, you're completely right. So, for what it's worth, this is my definition: a warm, contextualized introduction to another individual from a mutual connection. And I think that's where it becomes, that's the difference between a referral and just an introduction, is where there is a bit of warmth behind it. And I think that contextualized bit is where it becomes a little bit more meaningful. And it's about that. I think it comes back to that easy piece around, as soon as it's contextualized, it's easy for the party to go, right, this is why this is happening, kind of thing. This is the point in the early doors on this workshop where I'm going to make my own definition around, because a lot of the work that I do, I think most of you will know this, Fiona, maybe you probably not, is around strategic partnerships, and still typically around lead generation. So they're still providing referral leads. We'll be focusing on what I call your more traditional referrals today, which is clients, your network, ex-clients, family, friends. So the kind of the everyday, more casual referrals that you would get. Strategic partners is when you're specifically going out and targeting another business that you may not know in advance to work with really closely and get leads coming in on a consistent basis. Now, the fundamental learnings that we'll go through today absolutely apply to strategic partnerships. It's just strategic partnerships, you just put more effort behind it because it becomes a key channel in your business. So I just want to make that kind of distinction here. The strategic partner piece is a much longer one. That's like the referrals is as I said, everything applies to it, but just making that kind of slight distinction there. So, and another thing I want to kind of cover off early doors is just being clear on kind of what we're asking for and the power of referrals. So I'm going to use Megan as a prime example here, who's off camera. And referrals aren't just for leads, right? I know we're all here today looking ideally because we want referrals that are going to bring us business in, and there's even some nuances on that which we'll cover. So, but referrals can be for anything. And I just encourage us all to not forget that. And in fact, the other things outside of sales leads are probably easier to ask for referrals for. I got Megan. I was lucky enough to be introduced to Megan because I put something out on my newsletter saying that I was looking for someone to come in and do a marketing role, and someone within my network who's actually got a similar business to me in terms of a coach consultant type model went, yes, I've got just the person for you. And Megan was a Kickstarter there and I would love to employ her. And so the struggles that some people have recruiting at the moment, I bypassed all of that by asking for a referral, by asking for if anyone knew. And it can be partners, it can be sponsors. If you're looking for a particular area of advice, Kelly and Natalie, I know obviously you're part of like that whole networking in crowd where there is that lovely community. If you don't have a broader community around you, then just leaning on your network for anything and everything, I just encourage people to do. You never know what might happen when you ask, and it can't hurt, right? On the business side, I think it's also and it's something to think about as you go through today, is what are you looking for? And it may be worth after today, it may be worth focusing on a particular thing today and then and then maybe going back through the process again afterwards with your other side. So, for example, Kelly, I know you've got two different types of target in terms of customer. Fiona, I don't know, with yourself, I guess it could work for you. Could be looking for referrals to students, to sponsorship,
Yeah,
to schools to actually pay for your programs. There's multiple kind
yeah,
of
we've got a
routes
few
in.
different target audiences. I mean, schools is definitely the main one, but we also target businesses because we need to work with businesses to be able to deliver what we deliver to our young people. So
Yeah.
we try and build partnerships with businesses and then deliver to schools. So yeah, it's businesses and schools really. And they're completely two different worlds and two different. So it's,
Yeah, and that I'm the same as I'm sure it's a little bit the same with you. You've got your supply of stuff, and then you've got people at the other end that need it, and the same with USC. Like, I'm sure there's multiple different moving parts, and so it's just being aware and being clear, because they'll all need a slightly different strategy, slightly different approach because of the nature of what they do. So, referrals, why not? So, Kelly, and I think it was you as well, Essie, you can both kind of mentioned that almost feeling a bit nervous about asking, and a bit icky was a word that someone used on a previous workshop, which I absolutely love. Sarah Southey, actually, Natalie and Kelly, who I'm sure you both know. And there is that ickiness about asking. Before I come to you, Natalie and Fiona, can I ask where does that and I'll start with you, Essie, that nervousness around asking, where does that come from?
I think icky is a really good word, actually, because it's kind of like, oh, I've done this great work for you. You've kind of, it's, I always find like that relationship are mutual, because you're delivering a service, but then they're paying you for it as well. And they're helping you with, essentially kind of with your marketing, because, you can talk about the fact that you've worked with them and all of that. But it's like, oh, now I want something else. And now, it always kind of, I know it's not, but I can't get out of the feeling that, there's a bit of desperation behind asking for it. I mean, it's not desperation at all, but it kind of feels desperate, kind of.
Yeah, I get that, and there is an element of British thing about that. I've done this with other people before, by the way, and it's not just a British thing, but I think it's amplified because of our culture. So yeah, I completely get that. So you will not be surprised to hear that that's what lots of people say at this point. Kelly, anything to add to that from your side?
Icky is a great word. I think it's because I've probably been in business for such a long time. I started at 19, and I'm guessing I'm kind of bringing my teenage years into, I'm 40 now, it's like, I really should get over it, but I think it's actually just that I'm bringing my 19-year-old self with me, and I haven't got didn't have the confidence to ask for the referrals.
Yeah, so it's an ingrained behaviour almost. Didn't have it then, so you don't do it, and now you've got to break that chain. I know, Kelly, when you kind of dropped something back to me before as well, there was the system and process stuff, and that goes hand in hand, because that's what we'll do today, because we'll cover the mindset piece now, but then it's having the structure in place to kind of almost force yourself to do it, and then that's when the old habits die hard, and so forming those new ones, you need to put stuff in place to kind of make you do it. Natalie, you mentioned that you guys have never had a program in place before or anything like that. Do you ask anyway, but just not formally, and if not, why not? Anything else to add?
Occasionally there might be like a really big client, and we'll connect them with another really big client that we've already worked with, so they can kind of give us a bit of a referral that way. Like I said, there's not really any strategy to it. I've recently literally just sent over an email saying, can we tag you in some posts to like one of our biggest clients, and they were like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. I was like really apprehensive about writing the email and sending it, and they literally were like, "Why are you even asking?" And that's fine.
Okay, I love that, and that's going to play into something. Yeah, that's a brilliant example of that. Again, that ick, right? That do I hit send kind of.
Yeah, it's almost, I think, a bit like slightly imposter syndrome. I've got a really heavy retail background, so I'm used to like having to just be like, "Oh, can you see that?"
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's just kind of emptied my soul.
Okay, right. I'm very. So I don't know why I'm laughing at you saying it's empty to yourself. It's just a powerful image. It's amazing, Ali. One thing, as a very quick aside, but I love this so much that I share it whenever I hear someone say about imposter syndrome, because it has such negative connotations. Imposter syndrome. A copywriter I know has reframed it, and she calls it, and we should all call it, high achievers doubt, which I just love, because whoever you speak to at any level of business, they all get it. They all get it. And so that high achievers doubt, like, I just think it's just the most powerful reframing of a thing ever, kind of thing, because it's good. It shows that it's good. That feeling is great because it shows we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, which we need to grow and stay motivated and all that wonderful stuff. Fiona, from your side, and anything particularly to add? I know that there's a change in role for you. There's a change in delivery for platform projects. So there's all sorts of things going on in the mix here. So anything particular that you'd like to add?
Well, as you were saying, kind of the nervousness of asking for referrals and that kind of thing, I actually don't feel that, as in I'm probably too ballsy, as in I will always ask for feedback and testimonials and anything I can possibly get. But actually my biggest problem is I don't really get it, because, and I don't do it in an aggressive way. So I'd like to think they're not doing it because it's me. They're schools and their teachers, and they'll go, yeah. And then, like, the minute you're out the building, it's like you don't hear from them unless they want something from you. So I find that it's actually just that the people that I'm working with, when you're with them, are so like, this is amazing, like so positive, but then to get something once you've left is then really hard. And I was just wondering also what the difference, you're talking about like referrals, as in if I went into a school and delivered something that they really enjoyed and they just were at another meeting with another school and something came up, I'd like to think that we would sort of jump into their mind as a organization that they'd mention.
Yeah.
But that's like, they're just referrals just off the back of your like good work, right? So what's the difference between that and then actually getting something from them there and then? Like, are they the same thing, or?
Yeah, same thing, just at different points in time, and we'll absolutely cover that. That make it easy part I spoke about, and there's some stuff around timing of when you ask as well. The fact that you're more than confident asking is great and doesn't necessarily surprise me, because people that in that kind of more charity-led background are much more used to kind of having to
I think it's easier
kind of
in our kind of what we're providing as a service is different to maybe a corporate kind of service, or like, a a website build or something like that. I can see why that would feel not as natural, whereas for me, I'm like, I've got nothing to lose. We're a not-for-profit, we're trying to help people. Why are you not? Why would you not?
They completely get it. But the people you're asking for, though, aren't business owners, are they? They're educators there, and so there's a piece around there. But we'll absolutely work on that. Yeah, Essie.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would have written this in the chat, but it takes me ages to write anything in the chat. And also on that note, can I just say that sometimes I talk to Siri, so I talk to my computer, and it looks like I'm talking to the screen. But if you see me talking but you can't hear me, it's because I'm typing something with Siri. Because people like, I've had it before where people stop their conversation, like, "Oh, Essie, we can't hear you," and I'm like, "No, I'm typing in the chat." But anyway, what I was going to say was. Fiona, I use for the kind of the testimonials and things, I use a company that actually not chases, but follows people up on my behalf. So after the training or whatever we're doing, she'll send targeted emails with a link to a survey or a question or whatever, and ask them twice, and that kind of prime people to know that's coming. Or doing it with them at the time. Obviously, you know, you won't want to stand over them and say, "Don't put that, put this," but kind of just make sure that, because teachers are really busy and they are going to go off and forget. So I kind of have a system where, you know, we do the chasing for the testimonial so that they don't always have to remember it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
We'll
Because
build
also
that
I
in.
don't, yeah, because I also, and that's why today's going to be good, because there'll be a strategy, but I guess it's also the time, like also once I'm out, I'll send something over for feedback, but then I haven't got the time to keep consistently going at that because I'm on to something else as well. So it's
timing is key. I think that might be that. I think you'll get a nice takeaway fairly early on in the process here, actually, Fiona. So yeah, Natalie.
I was just going to say, like, in my previous experience, working with quite large brands, even people are way more likely to give you bad feedback, and that you have to really work for good feedback. Like, they're way more likely to get on their computers and have a rant if you've given them bad service. But if they've had good service, you almost have to be right up there to complete delight them before they'll do it. Like Superdry, I think we must have had about 4 different touch points on one sale where they were reminded about giving feedback, and yet you'd get a very small fraction of people that actually did it. And it's always about what do they get out of it rather than why is it good for you.
And this comes into the whole the why and the make it easy we're going to cover in quite early doors. So I'm going to quickly blast through a few that other people have mentioned as well. So some see it as a sales activity and they're comfortable with it. They're not wanting to be a burden on others. It can be a big one for people not confident in asking. So plenty of people have said that they don't have the time to ask for referrals, which is insane. It actually means you don't have or forget, or they're unsure of how to ask, or they've not had a great experience in the past with quality, or they ask but they don't get. All of these will cover. The one around the ick. I'm going to ask a kind of question. How do you guys feel when you make a referral or an introduction and it goes well? Good. I say good. Yeah. People love to make referrals. People really enjoy. No one feels bad when they make an introduction and it goes well. People do it because in general, people are good people and they enjoy making referrals. And so that I get the ick and I get the, oh, I paid them for a service. Is this not being a bit cheeky now? Well, actually, it's kind of the other way round because, and we'll move into the exact whys before, but essentially it's kind of your duty to, because if you're not asking referrals, you're depriving your contacts of getting that same wonderful feeling that you get when you make a good referral by not asking, by not making it easy for your contacts to do that for you. Well, you're kind of depriving them of getting that nice little buzz because they've done something nice for Kelly. Like, people genuinely love to make referrals. People feel awkward when they don't know how to do it, or they don't really know what you're looking for. So it's about making it easy for people to make that referral. And if you can be really confident in what you're asking for and why you're asking for, and you're asking for it at the right time, so it's really easy to ask because, and we'll come on to all these things, once you've got that in place, the ick should be the final bit to go. Should kind of start to melt away slightly. If you can just always remember, people love to make referrals. They genuinely do. And just keep coming back to that thing of how you feel when you've done it, and you know it's gone well. It's a great feeling, right? So let other people have that feeling on your behalf. It's a good thing to be doing. It's a good thing to be doing. So I know that's like a really obviously simple thing, but but hopefully it's quite a powerful one to remember, that it's people love to do it. So let's do this stuff. Right. Oh, for some reason it's going back through those points again. I'm sure it's probably done that the other 4 times I've run this workshop and I've not gone back and corrected it, but there we go. Okay. Who are we asking? Anyone and everyone, free for all, because otherwise it's not fair. Who can we ask for referrals?
Well, mine would be a teacher or a head teacher.
Okay, and would they be your customers?
Yeah,
Or partners, or like where do they sit?
The kind of, I guess, the senior management, as in a head teacher or a deputy head, would be the people that have the power to book and pay.
Yeah.
The service is obviously being delivered to the students, the young people, and their teachers.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So so they're like your, so they're your, I suppose you've got 2 levels of customer, haven't you?
As a head teacher,
people you're
would
selling to.
be the equivalent of a manager in a business that you're trying to target, because they're still businesses at the end of the day, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so kind of customers. Who else? Any more?
Your network.
Yeah.
I do a lot of networking and always end up at the end forgetting to go, oh, by the way, if you know anyone that, I never do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what, Essie's darting off. We're at 45 minutes. So you know what, let's take a quick 5-minute break now, if that's okay. As Essie's had to dart off anyway, because it would have happened in 5 minutes anyway. So let's take a very quick 5-minute break, if that's cool, guys. So what time are we at now? I can't see my Zoom screen. Means I haven't got any clock working.
10 past 11.
Yeah. For you fancy people in the Alps. Okay, right, let's come back at 15:15. If
How
that's
do
cool.
you
Oh.
turn the video off, Dave? Because I can mute it, but I can't. It says stop video.
Yeah, that's it.
So that just doesn't.
That'll just stop your. Yeah, that just stops your video rather than the whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, see you in a bit.
Cool. Okay, hey, Essie. If the others are later back than you, Essie, then they've got a lot to answer for.
I'm so sorry, and I'm so sorry that it seemed as though I was being impatient. I just, sorry.
No, you weren't. You weren't at all. I was, because I was looking. I had my eyes on the time, and I was like, yeah. So literally, it made it seemed more sensible to do that than it would have been 5 minutes afterwards anyway. So yeah, all good.
Awesome. So I was going to ask, your shed, because I think we've only ever kind of had a meeting in the summer. So do you work in your shop in the winter as well?
Yeah, it's easier in the winter than it is the summer. During the heat wave, it's been a nightmare.
So you have it's fully kitted out and stuff.
Yeah, so there's kind of a bit of foam protection-y, not foam, foil, fancy looking stuff basically to keep it a little bit warmer. Don't get it wrong, I have to have a little portable heater in here, but nothing too over the top. Yeah, and it's hard powered in from down at the house and all that sort of stuff.
Awesome.
So.
No, I want one, but I want all the mod cons and like a bedroom as well. So
okay, yeah. I've been very careful to not turn this into a man cave. Like there's nothing in here there's a guitar, and that's it. There's no PlayStation or like stuff that would mean it's not. It's a workspace first. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, and with 3 kids, it's also a safe haven. So
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Okay, right. We'll give Natalie 1 more minute.
Kelly, I just sent you a connection request as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna get while we're waiting for Natalie, I am going to, so we had customers. Kelly, you said about your network and and probably you're not utilizing the goodwill that you've built within that. And I think network's an interesting one because there's your close network, but then there's probably your wider network as well.
Yeah.
We all have our kind of, there's tiers of connections, isn't there, kind of thing. There's your work friends, and then there's your network.
And people from years ago, that you've still got a good relationship with, but they're just out of your sphere.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think it's worth really remembering that with network, because they have a different approach, potentially. Okay, so any more on kind of other people we can be asking?
I mean, I guess suppliers as well. And I'm thinking about that from a twofold. So suppliers kind of passing your details on because they know what you do anyway, but also looking for suppliers. I mean, one of my biggest bugbears is I find it hard to find good suppliers and reliable people. So that kind of, asking a reliable person for a referral to another reliable person, I think would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. That comes back to that point right at the start about what we're asking for. Yeah, service. Yeah, you actually looking for it as well. I think it works both ways with suppliers. Yeah, absolutely. Any others? Right, I'm going to put you guys out of your misery. And
I was going to say friends, possibly, but
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, and again, it's levels of it. So you're not going to be constantly asking your family and friends for referrals, but equally, if there was the right conversation that came up, why wouldn't you? It's about I often talk about being opportunity ready. And it's about just having it in the front of your mind that if there is a conversation that comes up, going, why wouldn't you ask? Why, if it's naturally there, and someone was talking about the fact that at work they're in a nightmare with their new website build or whatever, or it's just not ranking. Like, why wouldn't you go, Jeff? You do know that is literally what I do. Like, who should I speak to? Like, and it's just being ready and aware. You're absolutely not going to deal with them in the same way that you would a business connection, because the really on who is absolutely anyone. Is anyone and everyone could give you a referral at any time. But yeah, so we've got customers, we've got your network, you've got your team. So if you've got a team of people creating, I call it creating a culture of referrals. I do this workshop for teams as well, where it's about really building that piece throughout. I did one recently with Andre, actually, who Kelly and Natalie, you guys know, over at Claire Logic. Suppliers, top marks. Actually, obviously, you're probably not going to Microsoft and asking them for referrals because they do your 365. But yeah, where you've got that closer relationship and they understand you, absolutely worth doing. Here's one that I'll come into on in a bit more detail on the why and the when. But previous clients, as long as you've not pissed them off, like don't forget people that aren't still existing. Prospects again fall under this category, particularly if you've got a long sales cycle. Like if you're having that, it's another level up from just potentially being someone in your network. Competitors. Now, I don't buy into there's no such thing as competition, only collaboration. Like, it's just a load of fluffy nonsense. Of course, there are people that you're in competition with, but people still buy from people, and people have their own specific niches. And Essie, just because you might be competing against someone else for a keynote slot at a particular conference or on multiple occasions or a particular training slot, doesn't mean that they've got people that they're dealing with where they're just outside of their niche and they'd rather refer it to you, or they can't make it because they're doing something else on that day. And so actually having friendly relations with people that are in your space can prove really, really powerful. And it's not that they're not competition, it's just understanding that there's enough work out there for everyone, and that the value and potential collaboration far outweighs the protectiveness of when you're in competition. Associates, any coaches, advisors, anyone you've got in that space, and then friends and family, but we deal with them all in a little different way.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How would you define the difference between the team and associates? Just because I call I suppose what you would call a team, my associates. So how would you define?
So the only reason why I've split them out is because you'd think about the reason why they would refer you, the personal driver will be slightly different probably.
Okay.
So if you've got a traditional team of people who are employed, and maybe employed and sales and marketing isn't in their job description kind of thing. In a small business, everyone's in sales and everyone's in customer experience. They should be, but it might not be in their job description, right? So they're going to be motivated. They need to be motivated intrinsically to do that thing. An associate working with you is going to have a different internal driver as to why they're going to want to refer you compared to someone who's employed by you to do admin work. For example, so that's why I make that distinction. Absolutely, they're part of your team, but they're a different. It's a different feel. It's a different feel to it.
Thanks.
And so with all these people, it's just about being aware and about knowing what, and it's about understanding the drivers behind why they might do that. So things like, yes, a reward, and that's the very next thing we'll talk about. But outside of that, it can be their reputation with you. And they might want to, or their reputation as someone who makes referrals. So my background is in membership, and so actually being seen as someone, look, I made loads of referrals and connections to people because I bloody enjoy doing it. It's part of who I am. But also it was important to do that because it matched with what I was doing, which was building communities and everything else. Some people will do it to get referrals back. I think that's a dangerous one. I wouldn't give to receive, but in fact, I definitely wouldn't give to receive. But the law of reciprocity does kick in. If you're someone who actively and openly refers, people will refer you more often from your network. Loyalty, credibility. The credibility piece can be an interesting one. Again, it can tie into that, having a reputation as someone who knows people and who actively refers. For some businesses, that's really key in what they do. And also just by being seen to refer, if you're someone who's got really good standing, then by them referring people into you, they seem credible by knowing you. And never underplay that. Like you might go, oh yeah, but it's just me. Like, believe me, I get that kind of high achievers doubt thing as well, but there is a credibility piece that comes in here. If people can refer other high quality people, they by definition look more high quality. So that can absolutely be a driver. Where it's team, it can be job security, or associates ties in with this one. There's an element of, if I'm doing stuff that's above and beyond what I'm doing, well then I'm a more integral part of this, of the business and the ecosystem. For some people, it's around enhancing their service. So website builder for you, someone like you, Kelly, and this is where we're treading massively into potential strategic partner territory here. And this is where someone like a website builder would refer you, because by referring you potentially, Kelly, the website they've designed for their client performs better. right? So there's an integral, really nice fit there. Where the person referring you, it is about enhancing their own level of service. That's where potentially you're going to get a partner out of it, because where someone's got a real business reason for doing it on top of any of these other things here, that's where there's room to really do stuff, because there's a real drive to do it on a consistent basis for them. It ticks every box. Yes, Natalie.
I thought that's a really good point, because we do a lot of collections for people that do IT support or services, and they offer our collections as part of their service. So it's part of their customer experience, and it falls in quite a lot of our collections.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, and that's it. And so I would class those as partners, and it could be maybe it's people that do office removal stuff for you, people like that as well. Natalie, these are all people that could give referrals, but actually they're worth spending a bit more time on than your network and your customers and your clients, because they could do it on a consistent basis and at a higher volume and a higher level. And the final one there is people who are people feel obligated to do it. Now we're going to cover that in a little bit more detail, because it's kind of sounds a bit maybe seedy is the wrong word, but kind of you don't want to make people feel obligated to refer you. That's not a good look. But sometimes people will naturally feel obligated to, and when they do, there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of that. And we'll come into that. And again, taking advantage sounds really bad, doesn't it? Like and it's not. And we're going to come into that in much more detail, because it's not. Kelly, I can see you recoiling in horror. I'm intrigued about whether I can turn you around on this one, because when we get it right, it's actually really powerful. And again, it's just a reframe.
Yeah. Cool.
So there's lots of reasons why people would want to do it. Understanding with each individual, and it's not necessarily that all customers will fit into one bit, or all suppliers will fit into one of these reasons. There are some common threads, but it's an important thing to think about. Just to think about before you're asking. You've got someone in front of you, and you're going to ask them. The bit I am going to cover in more detail, though, is the reward piece, because I get asked about it all the time. So, on the subject of reward, Kelly, I almost put the mullet picture here after seeing your post this morning. I almost put the Kelly did a social post this morning of her as was it a 10-year-old with a mullet? And
the mullet.
So yeah, it was as a fellow 80s child, it was a very 80s child, child photo.
I must say, I am loving mullets now again. They're coming back in.
Yeah, they were. I was at a festival a couple of weekends ago with the family, and they were everywhere. So
love it.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a whole load of ways that you can reward a referral. There is financial, of course, and then there's a whole other range of reasons. I'm going to contextualize this whole piece first. So many people launch referral programs, and I suppose and they really focus on the reward piece, and it's not necessarily the right way to go. The main reason why most people refer you isn't for the reward. The reward becomes a nice to have. However, the caveat of that is some people are reward driven. And so this is why it's such a grey area and such a fine line to tread, and one where I can't give you definitive things that I think you should or shouldn't do, only some things to think about and potential ways to position it. I'm doing it early on, not because it's a really important thing. I'm doing it early on because it's something that I know if I don't, in previous experience, people start asking, yeah, but how do I reward people? So we're covering it off nice and early so we can get it out of the way. I don't know if any of you are big readers or listeners, but there's a brilliant book by a chap called Dan Pink called Drive that talks about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is all the things on the other slide, apart from reward. Extrinsic motivation is things like getting something in return for doing something else. And there are so many studies that show for a big chunk of people that if you start pushing the extrinsic reward too much on an activity that they would have done anyway, that they pull back from it. That actually it becomes like a job. It becomes like a sales activity. And so actually they're less likely to do it. Now, that said, there are people that are extrinsically motivated, and particularly people who are used to working in this space. So I have no issue with earning off the back of a referral. In fact, I will ask, and if it's someone I'm going to refer potentially for consistently, then I've got no reason for doing it. But I'm from this space, and also I don't get icky very often, so like it's fine for me. That doesn't mean I wouldn't make a referral unless there was one there, but actually kind of having something in place behind it probably motivates me more and keeps it front of mind. So how do we oh, Megan, you little superstar. Megan, can you put the link in the comments in the chat box as well, please, Megan? She's still listening in here. If you can find the Amazon link, because then you can get it to Audible and that as well, that would be awesome. So it is important to cover both bases. So one way to do this is pick, and I think it is nice to reward all referrals in some way. What you don't necessarily have to do is declare up front that that's what you're going to be doing. But it is nice if someone's made a referral to you and it leads to some business, then I think it is nice to reward them in some way. Now that can be obviously from a thank you, but it can be anything. It can be an actual thank you card that you send. It could be any of these things here. It can be a voucher. It could be where it's cross referrals. It could be if someone needs something of yours, you can use your services of your time or your time. I'm not as much a fan of those ones because I think the more personal you can make something, the better. But if you know that person would really value something that you or your business does, then there's absolutely no harm in offering that. I wouldn't make it the standard though. Amazon vouchers or vouchers for something local, or things that lots of people do. Maybe it's a meal, something for a local restaurant or something to them. I know some people that what they do is rather than reward everyone with a certain thing, they put people into a draw for a much bigger prize, which can be quite a nice one if people are doing things at scale. That's competition entries. One way, I know some people that make donations. So, or they give people the option. There's the look, do you want this? Or if you're not comfortable doing that, then this is our chosen charity or whatever it may be. If it's your team, it could be things like time off. Or what some people might want to do is if there is a financial piece there, and you're openly promoting that, some people might actually want to pass the commission that you'd pay them. They'd rather that worked as a discount off the service of the referral they're making. Now, that's quite a hard one if they haven't mentioned it up front. If you haven't mentioned it up front. And I wouldn't. There's two ways of looking at this. If you're launching a proper referral program, and I say proper, like you're going to have it up on your website and you're going to promote it and everything else, then I think it's fine to publicize that there is an incentive there, right? And any one of these things could be it. In that instance, I would absolutely give people the options. I would mention that you're grateful that people want to do it anyway, but we like to say thank you, and we do it in a number of ways. And if you want to give people the option of there's a commission here, or there's a commission here, or there's a voucher, or whatever it may be, or you can offer that as a discount, or you can put things into this pot. That's fine. You can do that, and people can kind of make their choices. But I think it is important to stress that you're I think it's important to stress that you're giving that reward because you want to give the reward, not because you think the people will only do it if they get a reward. And so that positioning of why you're doing it, that it's about you wanting to say thank you, rather than we think we need to reward you, otherwise you're not going to pass a referral, is kind of stops that. Oh, I don't want to make the referral now because they're going to think I'm only doing it for the reward. Kelly, yeah.
So are you saying to give them the choice of what they would prefer from kind of this list, and if they don't go for it, give them a gift or something?
Yeah, yes, and not too long a list, because then it just looks
No.
over the top kind of thing. But I'm just talking about if you're going to have like a web page or something. If you're, and I'm not saying you have to, if you see what I mean. But I think, Natalie, you mentioned we've never had a referral program before. So what I mean is, if you're going to properly launch a referral program and have it on your website and push it a little bit harder, then you're probably going to have some reward behind that.
Yeah.
And in that instance, it's fine to go. Don't make it the main driver of your referral program. The main driver is that you know people want to, and we really appreciate it. But then, yeah, make it about you wanting to say thank you. And here's the ways that we can say thank you. We can do this, or we can do this. I'd have a maximum of 3, but I'd normally stick with 2, which is we can do this for you, or we can do this for someone else. And then if someone said, "Oh, I don't want my voucher, can I pass that on to the person that I referred?" And they ask you personally, and think, "Well, yeah, of course you can," kind of thing. But when you're doing it on a personal basis, or someone's just made a referral to you ad hoc, which is where most of them will come. But if you're physically asking of someone, I wouldn't even mention the reward. If you're talking to one of your customers, I wouldn't even mention it. It's just if you've got a static page. Yes, Natalie.
Kind of on that thought, I was just wondering whether it might be an idea we could have for our website in particular, we could have like a testimonials page, and then after they've given a review or something like that, it would then show them an option of a reward rather than advertising it beforehand.
Yeah. I think the thing with yes, and absolutely, it needs to be about the main driver needs to be about referring you because you guys are great and you offer a great service, and so why wouldn't they do it? And so not mentioning that there's rewards, or not really, or mentioning it, or you could even say we are happy to reward people if it's your thing. You could even have a line that says, if it's your thing to get rewards for referrals, then give us a shout because you have a program in place. You're absolutely right. You don't need to push it at the front. Now, what I would say though is, if someone has made a referral to you, just because they will, most people will just do it because they want to. I would always give them some kind of personal reward. Okay. Even if you've got a cash piece there, I wouldn't give them that option. The first time someone makes a referral and they're not even aware of what your reward piece in there, if it was me, I would just give them something personal. And the more personal, the better, right? So if you know this person and you know what they like or don't like, then go for it. Who knows? Get them a meal voucher for and obviously it depends on the value of the referral as well, right? It needs to be sensible, but it could be you could take them to lunch. You could give them a voucher for them to take their significant other for lunch. It may be that they pass you a massively chunky bit of business and you get them a spa break. There was one instance where I had where the guy gave me a referral just because he did. There was no way I was going to pay him financially. He would have recoiled in horror at the thought of that. It's just not his bag at all. But I met him in London, took him to a sushi restaurant, and he was blown away that I even paid for that. And then I gave him I think I gave him like 150 quid Ticketmaster voucher. because in a previous conversation he'd said that he hadn't been to a gig, him and his missus hadn't been to a gig in ages, and I was like, right, get yourself, this was obviously pre-COVID, get yourselves along to the gig. Now it was a chunky bit of work, right? Like, and that paled into significance of what it would have been financially if there'd been a proper partner referral type piece in play. So it was entirely right and relevant, but it was an awesome thing to do, and it felt really nice to do it. So the more personal you can make it, the better. If when you do that, that's the point in time where if you think the person is someone who could refer you on a consistent basis, that's the time. If you've got a financial piece there, that's the time where you'd mention it to them. You'd give them the personal gift for the referral they've made, and then you'd have a conversation around, look, John, he's good, blah, blah, blah. Really grateful. If you think you're going to be able to refer more again, we do have a referral program in place. If you'd like to know more about that, then let me know. Let me know, because we can sort something out. If not, then awesome, thanks, wonderful. So you can just have the tone of that conversation will be completely dependent on you and completely dependent on the person that's referred you in. But that is the time, once someone's made a referral, if you think that person might be someone who's more motivated by an ongoing reward, that's the time to have a personal conversation with them around where it is. And they might go, oh yeah, actually, yeah, I would be interested, actually, that's great. Or they might go, oh no, you know what, SE, I'll refer you, I'll refer you because I think the work you do is amazing. Don't worry about it. In which case you could then go, well, we actually, you know what, Jeff, we've got a chosen charity, so if you do, I'll put something towards that. And go, oh well, yeah, if you want, and so you can. But it is because it's such a grey area and it involves people's personal motivators. It really is down to you gauging the person that's in front of you and who they are and what they do. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's a salesperson, you can then they're probably going to be more money motivated. If you're getting a referral in for someone who's an IFA or a mortgage advisor or whatever, it's probably a lot easier to have that conversation because they are people who are used to earning commission on things that they sell, right? That doesn't mean they necessarily want it. It just means that conversations is easier to identify those sorts of people. But there's a big group of people where it's going to be a little bit grayer. And I'm really sorry, I can't give you any more advice other than you're going to have to use your own intuition on it. Which, with a room full of ladies today, means you're at the head start on probably 50% of the population. So yeah, Essie, yes.
This whole conversation is making me think about something from the other side. So there is a company that I refer to on a regular basis. Like, I make referrals to this company on a regular basis. And I know that as a result, they make they get quite a lot of good, like, high status clients and on long-term basis. So are there ways that when we refer, and I refer to them because, it's going back to that kind of, it kind of works for the service. It makes sense at the time that I make those referrals, because when I'm talking about kind of recruiting disabled people, they're a disability jobs board. So it makes absolute sense. But is there a way that I can say, hey, I've made all these referrals to you going forward? Can we sort something?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very tricky to try and backdate.
But moving.
They're maybe semi-expecting the conversation. I don't know. And they might be surprised. I think it's probably, yes, there is, Essie. There's no precise way of doing it because, again, it comes down to you, your relationship with the other person, what they're like. But I would position, if it were me, so this is purely personal preference, I would treat it in the same way. I would stress to them that you like making the referrals because that it works, but that actually, and I would make it about your business, not you. That actually you're looking to build and scale your business, and you're looking at where you can build affiliate and referral revenue into your business. It's part of it. You've had a business review. Say that you've done your some 12-month planning or whatever you want to do, but that actually affiliate and referral commission is something that you're looking to build into your business as residual income. and that you love making referrals, do they have a ask them if they have a referral scheme in place that you can kind of that you can work up to, that you can look into. But yeah, make it about the business, not the individuals, and then it removes the ick, that ick word again. It removes that I'm not doing this unless you give me something. It's no, I want it to be right for my business.
Okay, cool. So does it add another layer of complication? So on top of this, I'm a trustee for a charity, and this organization, I mean, it doesn't matter if I mention the name, they're called Even Break. They might be really good for you, Fiona, to kind of have a look at. They give the charity I'm a trustee of free advertising space. So does that add an extra layer of complication?
No, did you know them before or after?
Before, I'm the person that asked them because I knew them.
Okay, so they're already doing something.
Not for celebrating disability, but for the...
they're doing it. So no, this is separate.
Okay.
And if they mention that, well then, how much is that? Yeah, no. I think it might be, it might be that does get brought into the conversation that we do an element of this. But it sounds like you know them pretty well. So I think the conversation would probably actually be a much, much smoother one than you imagine it to be. They work in recruitment, whether they work in recruiters are normally pretty commercially minded. So I think once you've got the context of why you're asking, then I think it comes in. And the fact that they're doing, it's my thing around cross referrals and reciprocal referrals. Don't give the fact that they're giving free advertising space and supporting the charity you're a trustee of. They're doing that for whatever reason they're doing that, their own values and purposes. It's a separate piece. I believe.
Yeah, they're not doing it because Essie asked them to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were brought into conversation because you're that link. This is, and it's not the charity that's giving them referrals, is it? It's you giving them referrals that personally. So I would make it about the business. Brilliant. Yeah, but Candy's made a good point. Maybe this workshop is the driver that has got you thinking about referral revenue, and so yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. Are we all okay? And in the charity space, by the way, I think this is probably the bit that's least relevant. You're probably the person this is least relevant to, because people should make. You'd like to think people will make these referrals anyway because of the awesome work you do. So it's about how else can you say thank you to people in a way that adds value to them.
It's got me thinking on a different side to it though, just from something that did work, just from getting new business in versus business already and then getting referrals to then get new business. It's made me think about like brand new business with some of the ideas on there, because we offered a free like enterprise day to a school, and it was like a competition based thing. So it was like the first 3 schools that come back will offer a free enterprise day. And we had loads of schools come back because they obviously saw that they would get a service for free.
Yeah.
And then off the back of that, a number of the schools that we couldn't offer the free day to still used us, or we gave them a discount. So it has actually helped me, but just not in the sense of the referral bit. So
yeah, awesome. And what you could do, so on that note, so as well as using it as a marketing drive, which I think is a great thing to do, you could do. It is something you could do to your list as well, and again, there's a risk reward thing there of the danger of the good thing about doing a competition is that it lowers your risk, but still, if you did it around, and we'll come into tone of voice shortly, but if you put something out to your list of schools and people that you've worked with, asking for referrals, that you're looking for a drive on them, but then you could do a similar thing again and say, look, for everyone that passes a referral, you'll get entered into a draw for a enterprise day or whatever. The risk is that you only get 3 referrals and you've still got to run this thing for one of them, right? And that's where there's a risk reward ratio that I can't help with, unfortunately. It's one where you just have to go, can we afford to do this and take a flyer? And if you can't, it's the what else could we offer of value that is more that is a bit more palatable, that if the campaign doesn't get the response that we want, actually the prize is enticing enough to get people to do it, but doesn't impact us too hard that if we don't get the results we want, we're struggling, kind of thing. So those same marketing campaigns you could use as a refer to your broader network on to add more people in as well. So
Yeah. Thank you.
And maybe profile is a good thing, by the way. That's not on this list, but because we cover it kind of slightly later on in the thank yous. But for people like for your charity piece, maybe what can you do to give them some exposure in some way that makes them look great? Whether that's your own social stuff or access you have into press, things like that, that's gonna boost them. Particularly if you're working with things like academies and stuff rather than traditional schools. As you said, they're becoming much more business like in their running and as entities, aren't they? So okay, cool. I'm going to whisk through just some quick things to think about if you're looking at financial rewards. And so you'll get all the slides on these. So if you're going to do on the financial rewards, where you're looking at the partner piece, so for you, someone like Kelly with you and your website developer, the commercial piece then is I would say is almost a given. In like 95% of partner relationships, I would encourage having a financial piece in there because it makes it a proper formal business relationship. On top of all the nice, lovely, wonderful stuff, and it won't be and shouldn't be the main driver, I would encourage it to put it in that place. It just makes things more concrete and official and everything else. But anyway, things to think about. Are you giving a set amount per referral, or are you giving a percentage of sale? If it's a percentage of sale or even a set amount, is it one-off or is it ongoing? If it's an annual recurring thing, are they getting a set amount on the renewal every year? For like insurance, for example, would fall into this category. Or if you're if you're putting people onto retainer, is someone getting 10% of whatever the monthly fee is or whatever it may be? So absolutely things to think about. On that note, it can alter year on year. I know some people that say any work you refer in will give you 20% of whatever we make off that customer in the first year, then it drops down to 10 forever after. I'm not a personal fan. I'm not the biggest fan of that, but it can be tiered based on results. So again, we're moving a little bit more into partner and affiliates here. But if you had lots of people who were regular referrers, it could be that you bring this amount of business in, you get this percentage. If you hit this number or value of referrals, then you get a higher thing. And so you kind of tier your referral partners. On that note, I know some people have minimum volumes. So if you were getting really serious on a referral program and people kind of had to sign up to it, and there's a bunch of stuff that you give them, and so there's a bit of a commitment there, then it's absolutely fine to have like you hit this value of sales before you're entitled to your drawdown. Again, much more prevalent in the kind of affiliate partner space than what we're looking at today. Delayed payment is one that you might, if there is a financial reward, you may need to think about, and this just ties into any rebate clawback type period your customers have. What you don't want to be doing is paying out someone for a referral and then having to ask them for the money back because the customer's offered a refund or hasn't paid or whatever it may be. Also think about your product or service, and if it's front loaded with work and you're not making much margin and during that initial period, maybe someone doesn't get paid until 3 months in, for example, because that way, whatever happens, if the customer does cut and run after 2 months, even though you didn't expect them to, you're not completely out of pocket. So just things to think about, bearing in mind on your product or service. So are we all okay on rewards, by the way, before we, yeah? Again, appreciate I haven't given much clarity, real definition there, but it's because it is so subjective. Okay, when to ask? When should we be asking for referrals? Shout out, feel free.
At the first point of you giving them value.
Sorry?
At the first point where you give them value or that they're happy with the service.
Oh, I like that. At the first point. Okay, that's nice. That's not, people don't normally say that, so I like that
because I was in your talk, Dave.
Okay,
that's why.
right. And then I thought, nice. Well, it proves you were listening. Awesome. Okay, yeah. Any more for any more? So at the first point, you offer value.
I was going to say at the end of the service. So, I mean, obviously, if it's not like a retainer service, but if it's like a one-off training or whatever.
Yep. Awesome. That's kind of traditionally when people would ask at the end. Yep. Any more for any more?
I'm thinking possibly when they've seen some sort of results or something. Obviously, I'm thinking on an SEO basis there, but
yeah. Okay, when they've seen some results, yeah, again like that. Okay, so the answers are all the time, at any time, but after a positive experience is one, and so I think that's the valued piece that you did, yours at the end, Essie, and then yeah, when you deliver results. And when there's an obligation. So this is where I'm going to come back to this obligation piece again. And opportune. So the opportune is the anytime and every time. That's probably coming back to your friends and family and your network and just being open and aware to conversations, striking when the iron's hot and all that. I'm going to start with the obligation piece because otherwise, you're going to be wondering why it's up there while we're trying to talk about the others. There are certain times that you never ever want to make someone feel obligated to do anything for you. It's just not a good look, right? Why do we want that? But there are going to be certain times when someone just does feel obligated. They're feeling a little bit guilty for whatever reason. And so they want to do something nice for you. In that instance, it's the perfect time to ask for a referral. And actually, this comes into that reframing again, what you're doing is you're giving them a really, really easy way to do something nice for you and make themselves feel better. They feel obligated because of something they've done, not because of something you've done. Otherwise, yeah, that's the bit that's not good. This only works when they feel obligated because of something they've done. In that instance, you're giving them a really, really easy way to feel better about themselves and whatever it is they're doing, whatever it is they've done to you. Now, whatever it is they've done to you, probably one of three things. It's either a sales prospect that you've had a long conversation with, and for whatever reason, and it looked like it was going to go ahead, and for whatever reason, they haven't. So this could be this. I think this works right across the board because it could be a school that they're about to kind of go into a project, and for whatever reason, some budget gets pulled or reallocated or whatever. In that instance, they feel really bad because it all looked like they were going to do it. So asking them who else they might know who's like them but actually is going to be able to push go. They are really strongly likely to make that introduction if they can. On a very similar note, a client leaving you. Now, obviously not a client leaving you because you've been a bit shit in your service. That's not the right time to ask for a referral. That's the time to grovel and apologize and make it better, right? But if they're leaving for no other reason than the time has come, maybe they're bringing in a digital marketer into their business, Kelly, and who's actually pretty good at SEO themselves, and I know you help train people and all that sort of stuff. But maybe that's it. Maybe there's maybe they've grown to a point where your services are being brought in house. Maybe it's at the end of a natural cycle. Actually, maybe you're dealing with a larger organization, and again they're bringing in an in-house specialist to do some of the work that you were doing. It could be that Natalie, it could be that Natalie or Fiona, it could be that maybe this particular contact of yours is they're geographically moving. I suppose a school doesn't geographically move, actually. That would be insane. But maybe a business you're working in that geographically locates for whatever reason, and so it just doesn't make sense to work with you. Whatever it may be, if it's not your reason, and again they're leaving, ask for a referral. It's a really, and they're more likely to do it. They don't want to leave you, but they are. The final one would be when they've made a monumental balls up, and you've gone above and beyond to fix it within their existing pricing structure. When it's just within the work that you would do because they're a valued customer, but you've stretched the limits of what you would do without going, yeah, this is a separate piece of work here, and they know that, and they know that you know that, and you can always tell because they either sound guilty or they sound sheepish, right? In that instance, those people are looking for a way to ease that feeling of like, and so asking for referral is the perfect thing to be able to do that.
I've done
I've
that.
just written, oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
Mine's quick. I just wrote down monumental balls up. Brilliant.
Yeah. Right. So have I turned you around on the obligation piece, Kelly? Yeah. Do you?
Yeah, and actually I can see so many opportunities there because I've switched around from small business to larger businesses, and the small ones are leaving, which is good. I was forcing it, and that is the time when they're happy and they're just like, bye Kelly.
Yeah.
Ask for a referral. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Natalie, I see you nodding your head there as well. Have you got kind of various points now? You're like, oh, you know what?
I've literally got customers in my head from this week that I've had one that they said they wanted a collection, and essentially they want an entire decommission, which they would have paid a lot of money for. But instead we're really working with them to try to still do it for free. So they're a big one. And someone else who a local person who we'd offered a free support service for half an hour to, and they actually managed to get it elsewhere. So she was like, oh, thank you so much for helping, but we won't actually need you anymore. I was thinking both of those customers would be great people to ask for referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I made a note of that, so I'm going to be holding you to account on that one.
Okay.
Essie, you were going to say something just as Kelly did.
Well, I was just going to say as well, I am one of those, like, I've ballsed up clients, especially when it comes to the website. Oh, I was just doing this and now the website doesn't work. Can you fix that for me? Yeah, that's exactly what I would do. Oh, I'll just do it quickly. Oh shit, what's happened? But also from my point of view, I get prospects that, because quite often there's quite a big DMU, so the person that's coming in isn't the person with the budget or making the decision. So quite often the person I've met with, not quite often actually, once or twice, the person that I've met with really wants to work with celebrating disability, but someone else has been chosen and it's out of their hands. So I think that would be a great opportunity. Because again, they're kind of, I'm so sorry, I really wanted to work with you. That would be a great opportunity to say, well, do you have anyone that you can refer me to?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect ones. And I think that budget one is often that can be the driver, can't it? So awesome. So yeah, look, here's some examples of where there's the positive experience is obviously a much easier one because it's things like project completion. It's, as you said, Kelly, when people first start seeing results. Natalie, your first bit of when you're first delivering value, I guess that's on a pick up or a collection or a review. And I'm sure the same with you, both Essie and Fiona. There will be, what's really worth doing is just looking through your customer journey and going, oh, okay, where am I adding value? And there's all sorts of things here. These are all kind of fairly static things that you can always add in. But what I really encourage you to do is to think about your customer journey, and by customer I mean from the minute you're in a proper prospect conversation with them, all the way through to after they've finished using your service, and ask yourself this one and it's the most powerful question you will get, that the most powerful question you can ask yourself to getting referrals when people are feeling positive. So the obligation actually can be the most powerful one when people will do it. But in terms, and Fiona, I think this comes into your thing around timing, around and I'm going to have to skip that on because he's just constantly moving. It's really distracting me. I'm like getting right. But that, when are my customers most delighted? I need to, Megan, if you're listening, I need to figure out that slide so that I can do it and then click and it stays there without it moving. So I'll edit that bit out of the recording for you. But because for most people, and this is what Natalie alluded to when we first deliver value, when your customers are most delighted, often isn't when you finish delivering your service. Now, for a lot of people, it's much earlier. For some people, it's later. So Kelly, I imagine for you, maybe it's when people first start seeing some genuine results. And I know SEO isn't a quick turnaround for stuff, is it? It's
No, it
typically
really
it's a long game that you're playing. And so I imagine maybe that most delight, it does come later on. For most people, though, it actually happens much earlier in the journey. I always use branding as an example. When I got my branding done, I knew the person that was doing it anyway, or her agency. We're kind of we're work friends, but friends. And I had a really exciting conversation around what I wanted it to be and how I wanted it to look. And it wasn't like this, but it was going to be kind of semi-cartoony and all that. I remember when I got the first brief back of, look, this was our first ideas. Oh, and every time I tell this story, I still get goosebumps. I can remember being sat at my dining room table on a Zoom call and was just so excited and so blown away by what they'd come up with as this brand identity. By the time they delivered all the materials at the end, I was still really happy with them, but nothing came close to that moment of like, oh my word, this is just better than I could have ever possibly imagined. That real wow moment. Now you all have. Now, branding is quite a kind of a cool, sexy thing to be doing, right? So it's maybe there's an emotional response that's larger than it might be with some other stuff. But I guarantee you now, every single one of you has a proper wow moment for your customers that comes at a relatively consistent point in their journey. There might be one or two. I'm not saying there's not necessarily only one, and it's not that you don't ask for all those wow moments, but the one where they're most wowed, even if it's super early. I know someone where their wow moments when they were dealing with small businesses was before they were a customer, because they did so much work in the review. They were an IT managed services provider, and they would do a review of someone's like 365 makeup before they were even a customer. And that's where their biggest wow moment was because the people couldn't believe how much work they did without them even being a customer. They'd go, well, you shouldn't be paying for that, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And so they started asking for referrals from people that weren't even customers yet, because they knew that's when people were really impressed, because it was easy for them to refer other people to that service. So just think along your prospect and customer journey around, when do people get that wow moment. Now I'm gonna open it up because I want to hear your thoughts. Fiona, one thing I want to add in, just specifically around your point around it's really hard once you've left. I want to make sure that we cover that off for you today. If the wow moment is genuinely right at the end of the program, I would imagine it's not. I'm going to imagine it's part way through when they start seeing a turnaround in the kids. And even if that's not the most wow, then there must be a point where they go, wow, we're really seeing some turnaround in Jack. He's doing this and he's doing that. The asking early, particularly in your instance, really pays dividends in two ways. A, they're going to be more likely to make it because you've done this bit about asking when they're most delighted. Yeah. But also the double bonus of you doing it at that point is that you're still around. They're still your client for a little while, so you can when they go, oh yeah, I'm sure there is, you've now got however many other touch points along that program to be asking them while they're still a client. And at that point, they're a bit obligated as well. They're really happy with the service and they're obligated because they said they're going to do it. and you can do it while you're still in contact with them. So
Mm.
so I think that finding that earlier point to ask, I think
I
could help
think
you.
interestingly, when I was saying that, I was actually in my head, I was thinking about more around like the enterprise days that we do, where it's like a one-off day. So
Yeah.
you go in, you do the day, and the school are just paying you to come in and maybe do it once or twice a year with a year group. That's the harder one to get the
Yes.
referrals
Okay.
from. Whereas like you said, the alternative provision we do, the students are with us over a longer period of time. So I like that idea of waiting until there's a real like turnaround moment that you can then contact them and get that.
With the enterprise days? What work happens in the build up to that?
There's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of kind of planning around like the session plan, the workshop, the age group who we're targeting. But in all honesty, because it's a sort of a bit like today where you have your kind of session ready, it's just the way you deliver it's different to who you're in front of. So it is always kind of, there's not a huge amount of work in advance for our enterprise days because it's already pre-planned. But we do go back and forth with the school, obviously, and kind of show them what we're going to do with them and put career talks in that are relevant to the age group and sort of that kind of thing.
Okay, so something I'm going to suggest on those is, and this does feed into the broader thing, because sometimes if you're asking, even if the most wow moment is really early on, some people, you can still become comfortable to ask for an actual direct referral at that point. I think you should just ask, but if you don't feel comfortable, you can seed that you're going to ask for a referral. You can say, oh, it's wonderful that you feel this excited about it. It'd be great if when it all comes through, you can give us a referral, pass us on a referral. I'm not a fan, you should just ask for the referral in my book, but again, I don't feel the ick. And on that seeding note, Fiona, what you could do with your enterprise days is there something you can do? Is there an extra step in the chain that you can put into your customer journey that's really easy for you to do? Really, really easy for you to do. I'm not looking to, because I appreciate how hard you will work and I know how busy it is. Is there an extra chain in the communication process that you can put in before those enterprise days that has a really high perceived value? But actually takes you no time to do. It might take you a bit of time to do the first time you do it because you're setting up maybe it's a day plan or a day outline, or and then it's an email or an extra call that goes alongside that. Is there something that's minimal effort on you to do, really high perceived value for the customer? That just gives you a chance to have that extra contact that adds value anyway, so it's a good thing to do, but just builds that wow moment earlier on so you can see that referral. I'm loath to suggest you need to do more to make the ask, which is why I want to stress, is there a simple nice thing? There's probably some value that you're creating in your natural planning that you don't appreciate the school would actually get massive value out of as well. There's probably something that you just do because you guys do it. It's
that's interesting you said that, because that is something that when I said about my job role sort of changing slightly, we are trying to enhance it from just a day to a lot more than just a day. So we are looking at doing like teach the teacher, so doing some training with the teachers before we go in, so that then when we leave they can continue to do it. So that's got me thinking that maybe that's the
perfect
we do beforehand, because then they can use it for themselves once we've shown them how to do it, and that's the ultimate goal, really.
And so I think you probably would get a wow moment at that, because you'd be doing that above and beyond. You'd be doing that thing where the teachers suddenly really get it. So I think that type of thing would help tie in with all of this.
That would be easier to get.
I see. Kelly, Natalie, anything from your side around kind of that when are my customers are most delighted, that peak wow moment?
My brain is ticking a lot. One thing that just came up in my mind as you guys were talking was when they get my lead magnet, which is possibly too informative, but would you ever do it where you go put on your email list, you'd sort of send an email saying, did you like the lead magnet? How did you find it? Can you get someone else to sign up? And I don't know.
Yes is the short answer. The long answer will come after the next break. Literally, the how is the next slide. So, but yes is the short answer. But I'm aware that we've done a couple of quite chunky kind of subjects recently. So, but yes is the short answer.
Cool.
I'm thinking about that value add that you and Fiona were just talking about as well. And, I think there are little bits that we add on because sometimes, so we'll have a client that it takes, we build a rapport because of the type of work we're doing. So for example, at the beginning of the year, we had a client that we were delivering sessions over a 6-month period. It started by 3 and then they kept adding to it and adding to it. We've got another client just now like that, but then we have the other clients that are literally just in and out. And those clients, the latter clients, there isn't much communication between, okay, you've signed the contract, you paid, we're coming to deliver. So that, it's kind of dead air between them. And I think, for the former clients, whether we build a bigger relationship, there's a lot of stuff that goes in there about kind of giving them the information they need, making sure people are signed up, giving them the feedback in a timely manner and those kind of things. So I think that in that place, there's kind of those middle sections where we can ask for the referral. But then the latter clients where it's like literally like, I don't talk to you before I've delivered. I think there's bits that we do that we underestimate the value of. So for example, I've recently created a web page that tells people the structure of our sessions so that they know what access requirements they'll need. So it doesn't tell them the content, but it tells them the structure. And I don't know of any competitors that do that. And I think that's a really beneficial thing that I just give out, by the way, here's that, without saying this will be helpful for these things. And kind of the links that I have to kind of internal materials that are external to the training, for example, which again, I think add value, but then I just do them as a by the by, this might be helpful.
Yeah, and so yeah, I would, and again, it's all about balance. So much of this stuff today is because it's all about essentially it's about human emotions and things like that, the passing of referrals and the want and the need to do it. So yeah, I think that stuff, I think we can all at times be guilty of underplaying just the level of value that we deliver. And so yeah, I think kind of maybe tightening that up to make a bigger deal of it without too big a deal. Yeah, I would suggest that you're probably underplaying it, Essie. Absolutely. And to make it more of a thing that you do, it's part of what you do, and build it into a proper kind of build up communication process. Just it's a good thing to do for the brand full stop, but it does open up more opportunities for doing this type of stuff. I bet you've got a load of, and when you start thinking about it properly, you'll start, and now applying that in your subconscious, you'll start kind of go, oh yeah, we do this thing, oh yeah, and there's that thing that we do, and you know what, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to do that, and all that stuff. It's just great. It's great stuff to do full stop, because why wouldn't we do it? But it does add up. It does just all strengthen the referral, case study, reputation piece that's so intrinsically linked. It all adds to it. Maybe it's coming back to that imposter syndrome, high achievers doubt thing. We kind of we take it for granted that what we do is what we do. It took me ages when I started this business, because I thought that everything that I did was common sense. And it is common sense, but it's common sense because I've got experience in it. And there's also hundreds of bits of common sense all woven together. Now I love the fact that it's all common sense, because it means that I'm not unlike the technical wizardry of something like like Kelly does, because I know that absolutely everything I tell people they can go away and do fairly simply. So actually, I've gone from it being it's just common sense to it's common sense. That's really powerful, that we take for granted all of us, I'm sure, take for granted our own personal skill sets and just the power and what the business does. So yeah. So yeah, have a little think about those hidden bits of value. I think that's probably I'm going to that's going to be a new little bit added into the next time I do this workshop, actually. So thank you. Right. Any more for any other questions? Any other thoughts? Natalie, I just want to, before we break, I just want to quickly ask you, because you said about when we first deliver value. Is that the place you think when people are most delighted, or does that vary with you? How comfortable are you with this in terms of is it more a case of there's multiple points along the way, or is there a moment?
I think there are multiple points. I think my first point would be very early on, before the booking or the collection stage, if I'm thinking of a recycling customer who I've got in my mind currently. So actually it's perfect timing, because we've just done the Sales 101 workshop and I've made a complete, really in-depth sales pipeline. And within that, I've got stages where I can add value to the customer, where I can send them things that we've got, like infographics and things that we can use. Because a lot of people that use us, they have a basic idea, they're not necessarily IT whizzes. So there's quite a lot of infographics and videos and stuff like that I can add value to. But within that stage, I've actually got the areas that I would kind of think about, like a testimonial. So I'm thinking now that I could list one of those, like, or two of those as referrals. We can maybe sow the seed early on, and I think personally, they're probably at their wow moment would be, it's booked in, they've realised it's not actually going to cost them anything, and we're going to pick up more stuff than they thought we would. So I would maybe say, like, if you've got anyone else in mind, we're always looking for more people that we can deal with and more things we can keep up landfill, yada yada yada. And then maybe later on, once it's actually collections completed, I can add value. I can give them like CO2 reduction certificates that they haven't asked for and things like that. And I can go for a more specific referral and go, like, do you have any X kind of businesses that you have in mind which might want to work with us?
Awesome, that's perfect. And I think that's a great way to look at it to start. And I think you've got two amazing points there. So I think that's they both sound bang on. And you'll and I love the definition between the two. You're right, because if you're asking early doors, you're kind of asking for people like them. That's the easiest one to do, is people like them in their situation. When it does get later on, you can start being a bit more specific, because there might not be someone, and we're going to move on to all of those. Right, I appreciate we did a much longer stint on that one. But I think it was important to get through to that bit. So if we go for a break now, what time is it? Right, we will go. Is 7 minutes long enough for everyone, or would people like a slightly longer break?
That's good.
7 minutes, fine. Awesome. Let's come back for 6 minutes now. Sorry. Let's come back for 11:30 or 12:30 for you, Kelly. But yeah, awesome. Cheers, guys. Where's home for you, Essie?
Just outside Basingstoke in North Hampshire.
Oh, okay. You're not a million miles to me then. I'm North Wilts. So
Yeah. Whereabouts, sorry?
I live in a place called Calne, which is North Wiltshire. So
Okay. Oh yeah, not too far away.
not a million miles. I've got a friend who lives in Basingstoke actually. So.
Okay, cool. Who's that? Not that I know anyone in Basingstoke.
No, her name's Sarah Wyatt. She works for Dell.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm joking. I don't.
You never know. And actually, she sits on their inclusion like cross sector. So actually, I suddenly thought, oh my word, actually, she might actually. There's enough of a link there that you might actually go, oh,
Yeah.
right, you know what? Which
I
would have
do.
been insane. But
I make an effort to spend as little time in Basingstoke as possible.
yeah, okay. Yeah, but yeah, fair enough. Yeah. It's like whenever people ask me where I'm from, I'd say I live near Bath. Because I live halfway, I live halfway between Bath and Swindon, and it's much. And so if you're going to pick a destination that people know, then yeah, I appreciate you're probably Swindonian. You're not. Are you a Swindonian? A proud Swindonian?
I feel massively offended that you wouldn't say that you live near Swindon and you've chosen Bath. But actually, I was actually born in Bath.
Okay.
But live in Swindon.
Okay.
So I say that I'm from Bath too.
Well, there we go.
I've had to tell off some of my family for saying that I've moved to Swindon. I'm like, no, I've moved to Wiltshire. I'm outside of Swindon.
The classic line for Swindon is it's near really nice places.
It's great. It's a great place to
Cotswolds.
connect you to places you actually want to be.
Yeah, gateway to the
Good one for
Cotswolds.
Basingstoke as well. Yeah. I should start just saying Reading because it's literally halfway between Basingstoke and Reading. So I should start just saying Reading.
And Natalie, you're Marlborough, aren't you? Green Machine.
Green Machine, yeah, we're Ramsbury, but no one's ever heard of us when we say Marlborough.
Yeah, I know Ramsbury because I'm local. I'm Calne, so obviously I know Ramsbury.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ramsbury Ale, isn't it?
I almost moved to Calne. We had our one of our awards nights. We rented out the brewery. And we had a whole tasting, and it was really cool.
Nice, nice.
Good vodka. Actually, before we move on, Dave, I've got a question.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of our clients are repeat clients. They're people that we've worked with for decades. So I'm not quite sure when in their journey it would best to hit up for a referral.
So, and I just want to reiterate, this is an exercise that I would really encourage you all to do, and that's for however many different types of customer you've got, whether it's one-off work, whether it's repeat business, whatever it may be, really go through the customer journey of all of them. And if it's someone that's with you for 4 or 5 years, how does the touch points differ after year 1 into year 2, 3, etc., etc.? Because the additional wow, right? So you could engineer a wow moment, but you might not be able to ask for the referral right away because it might feel like you've engineered the ask for the referral. If you see what I mean. So with your retained clients, presumably you still have review. Do you have review meetings with them? Things like that outside of just doing what you do. Do you still have kind of any kind of formal meetings with them, like reviews and things like that?
Not really. Tend to just have a collection, we'll give them all their paperwork later on, and then you don't hear from them for a couple of months, and then they contact us again saying they need another collection. I have put into my new sales pipeline and have different touch points in between that where you do have silence. But my thing is that they already know the level of service, and there's not much we can do without being out of pocket to kind of increase what they're already expecting from us.
Yeah, okay. So I think so in that instance it can be quite hard, but you've already got the relationship there. So we're literally about to come on to the how, like when and the tone and things like that. I think part of it, and you don't strike me as someone that would get ick that much. To go back to the word, you just ask them. But it'll be about how you position it. I think where you've delivered consistent level of service for that period of time, just going, you know what, I'm not even going to hide it here. I'm just going to ask and you just have to position it right. What you could do is some of those touch points though, and again, this could be about inspiring, like engineering a slight wow moment that then goes, that you can then ask is, you could send notifications to people when they've hit a certain level of recycle, whether it's value or number of machines or number of pickups. You could almost do like a, hey, like, and if you did that for all your clients as a semi-automated thing, well, then you can kind of probably follow up on that. But then there's probably nice ways of going, of like just pointing out milestones that they wouldn't even think about, that you could maybe celebrate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
And so things like that just help people get a bit more excited about the relationship again. It makes them stop and reflect and go, wow, you know what, actually, yeah.
I have
And then-
one of my ideas for some kind of reward scheme is to have green points. So every item that you recycle, you in green points. So that could be like when they've hit a certain amount, that could be another thing. Be like,
Yeah.
100 green points, you could spend them on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. See, yeah, it perfectly fits in with that. That's a great idea as well.
That's a good idea, Kelly. I actually do that a couple of times. Every now and then I'll be like, oh, we're going to do a social media post. We'll tag you and say how much CO2 we've saved you from that collection.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, moving on from Joan Hill again. Right. So we are the how we ask. That there's in the interest of time, there's lots of ways we can ask, right? We can ask in person, stroke on the phone, Zoom kind of thing is always going to be the most powerful ask. Always going to be the most powerful ask. But that's not to say we shouldn't do things like either a direct email to someone that you've written personally, including it as a broader piece in emails, newsletters that potentially go out. If you've got bulletins and things like that go out, Kelly, your value add stuff would include on that. I'd absolutely have it on the make everything shareable. You're great. Your content's got so much value in it. I would be pushing people to share that content, which is still a referral, right? A referral to someone else to join your mailing list. That's still a referral. It's a low level referral, but it's still a referral. It's still you building your audience and your network. So I would absolutely be doing that. And it also gets people in the mindset of thinking who might else, if they think about who might else value from your content, it's not much then of a leap for them to think who might value from your service. So actually some of those lower level requests just get people, like people talk about having a product staircase and get people paying £10 because then they'll pay £50, then they'll pay £200, and then they'll buy a high value service or whatever. It's a little bit like that. If someone's willing to share your content, well, then they're on that journey of recommending you. They're potentially more likely to then actually refer you. So any of that type of stuff, right? Invoices can be a really, particularly, so including on invoice, I'm talking about any kind of static, anything around this, whether it's a physical invoice or if you're taking recurring payments off people from something like Go Cardless, then it's the Go Cardless email that they get to say that they're doing it. Having like a little kind of box that goes, and we'll come on to tone, but just reminds them and asks for a referral can be a really powerful thing. I know people where they do push the financial side a bit harder, that's why they do it on their invoice, and they talk about want to reduce your invoice next month. Well then, yeah, did you know that for every customer you sign up to us, this XYZ happens? Same thing again, quotes, any monthly reports you might give to people. So again, Natalie, if you were thinking of doing a kind of, this is your if there was a kind of that almost a semi-automated, this is your how many units you've recycled, your green points or whatever, then that's the perfect thing to just add in. And not all of these things, you're not asking directly. The in person and the on the phone and the personal email, these are you directly requesting a referral. And that's where you're going to get the vast amount of your referrals from. All this other activity is stuff to keep you front of mind and just just to seed and just kind of make people aware and remember that that's what you're looking for. So kind of make it prominent on your website, that like ask somewhere, have some on there, on your social channels. Social channels are an interesting one. There's loads of ways of doing it. Saying thank you to people who've given you a referral is a great way of making it obvious to people that you're open for referrals, kind of thing. You can launch. I know some people that do actually properly launch referral programs and shout about it. If you have a charity angle to your reward piece, and we mentioned that you can give people the option. I know some people where a percentage goes to charity no matter what, and then it's the remainder someone takes as commission or goes to charity. Having a charity angle gives you a great excuse to shout about your referral program on social media. Fiona, I think this is probably an easy one for you. You can probably use social to just directly ask because you do great work. And Essie, you're probably a bit more in that as well because it's such a, in fact, probably me and Kelly are probably the only ones here where actually you could argue that us directly asking on social would be a salesy thing to do. I think for the rest of you, you've all got such a powerful message. However, me and Kelly want to dress up what we do, and we can work with wonderful brands and do amazing things. And Kelly, I know you do a great thing with people in financial difficulty when you do your courses. But it's much easier to directly ask for a referral when online, when you're helping the environment, working with equality, and helping kind of disadvantaged kids that need working in a different way. They're all things where you can probably be a little bit more ballsy than me and Kelly could be. Kelly, yes. Well, I hope you're going to disagree with me because I like it when people do that.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I just lost my train of thought, which is yeah, sorry, just lost it.
It was about thanking people for referring, and then it was you can go a bit more direct when there's a cause behind it.
Oh, I remember what I was thinking. I was thinking possibly because I've switched my business in the last year, it's actually quite a good opportunity to go, oh, right, well, these are my new products. Do you know anyone? You know, so in ways, even though I felt embarrassed before because of the change, maybe I can use that as a
absolutely
platform.
And that's the opportune reason. If there's a specific reason, then if you too heavily manufacture a reason, people see through it, right? And bear in mind, referrals are all about a relationship, they're a bit more emotive than other stuff. If you're not authentic in why you're asking, people will see through it, and it will damage your reputation rather than enhancing it, right? But a genuine reason, which you're going to come on to actually, but you're right, that's absolutely a reason to do that. So because you're kind of going, you're giving people, this is what I was doing, this is what I am doing now. 100% that's a reason to do it. I wouldn't feel, I'm sure no one on the call would feel kind of out of place if I was on your list and that kind of came through, or saw it on socials. It's natural, changing service, therefore
it's genuine, isn't it? Yeah, which is okay with me.
yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn Direct is obviously is one where you can do it. So many people don't do this. I remember when I worked for the Chamber of Commerce in Swindon, I had a really tight LinkedIn network. I specifically kept it to only people that I personally knew. And then I ran my national membership organisation, and I'd go to an expo and someone wanted to connect with me and I didn't want to feel guilty about saying no, so I did, and then it just got unwieldy. But when I was working at Swindon Chamber, I'd say to people, members that joined, part of the benefit was look through my network on LinkedIn. I know everyone on there. If you want an introduction, I'll make it for you to anyone. With the people that are tighter in your network, I'm fairly certain if you looked through their connections on LinkedIn and found someone that you wanted to be introduced to, and you sent them a message going, I know, right, I'm telling you now, any one of the four of you, if you want an introduction to someone on my LinkedIn network, ask me and I'll make it. If I got a message from any of you going, oh, hi Dave, I see you're connected to so-and-so, do you mind making an introduction? I'll give you some context. I'll say, yeah, I know them really well. Or I'll go, I'll make the introduction because we're connected and therefore we will. But I'll give you an honest appraisal of how tight my relationship is with that person, but I'll make the connection. and I would guess we've all got people in our network who are natural connectors and enjoy connecting people up. So actually kind of, but it's about you doing the legwork for them. If you that's the joy of something like LinkedIn, is you can do the hard work for them and not go, do you know anyone like this? You can go, oh, I see that you know so and so. Can you make an introduction? Very few people say no to that because you've made it super, super easy for them. Yeah, and again, groups is similar to social groups that you're a part of. Email signatures is similar to the invoice and quote one. And the thing about mentioning referrals in an email signature is the only thing I would suggest is don't have it there all the time, because people loses its impact. So I think I was really rubbish at promoting this workshop this time round. I think I started about 2 weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago. But previously, I had my email signature, my whole email banner changed from my normal Power to the Partnership one to a nice branded one that promoted this workshop kind of thing. But then I'd alternate them. And I think the same thing again is if you're going to use real estate like your email signatures, if it's always there just asking for referrals, people become immune to it because they see it all the time. So it's a great thing to do, but just make sure you mix it up so that people actually stop and look. So there's loads of ways of physically how, but the how to position in each of those I think is the crucial one. And before we go into these, I think this is the other area where it's quite grey, because how you might ask for a referral might be different to how I might ask for a referral and what you feel comfortable with. But it's not just about what you will feel comfortable saying. So first of all, you have to find a tone of voice or a variety of tone of voices that you feel comfortable in asking. And Fiona, I know you said you're quite direct, but the other thing you might need to think of is not only what are the various tone of voices that I'm comfortable with, what are the tones of voice stroke language that the person I'm asking is going to respond to. And so what you might find is you'll find some people that want it direct. They want a straight up cold ask. There are other people where you might need to be much more downplayed about it. While still kind of as soft as you can possibly be while still directly asking for a referral. There are other people that you know, but I'm sure you've got a good enough relationship with where you can be kind of cheeky with it and fun with it if you wanted to be, if that suits your personality and that's what you would like. Kelly, you seem quite like me. I'm sure you could probably do a cheeky ask with a few of the people in your network. Essie, I'm sure you absolutely could as well. We all can with the right people. And so this is why I say it's great, because there's no one size fits all here at all. The first thing is you need to find a variety of tones and styles of doing it that you feel comfortable with, and then match those with the customer's personality type and speak to them in their language. Because then it's not going to jar at them. And those matching those two things is another thing that just kind of dissolves the ick. If the ick is a gooey substance, then the right time kind of dissolves some of it away. Understanding your tone and the customer's tone dissolves some of it away. And it's just about matching these things up so that you've got absolute confidence when you ask. In terms of the physical things to say though, and this can be either in person or on things like emails that go out. So it could be opportunity based, and by opportunity based here I mean the opportunity to the person referring you, right? You might be running some kind of big incentive like what you were talking about, Fiona. Like if everyone does, like there's a competition, there's a reason here, like if you do this, there is this thing that's in it for you. The other tone can be, I would say, is value based, which makes it all about the person that they're referring. So do you know anyone like this, because this thing's happening and I can offer value in this way. There's the thankful tone. You need to be careful with this one. If you do it too often and go too overboard on it, it comes across as insincere. But this would be like the Nat, you might want to use this one actually with some of your existing clients. Kind of, you can say about being grateful for their business, but also you can say like it's when people say we're really lucky that our business has grown organically through referrals. Actually, what we're now looking to do is be more serious about this. We'd really appreciate it if you could refer to anyone you know like XYZ. I have to be careful. If, as I said, if you go too over the top on it, or oh, I've had a reminder. Sorry about that.
We're all wondering who Danny is.
Danny Matthews. Who any of you know Danny Matthews? He's kind of local to us that are in Swindon, where he does runs a branding agency, only works with like ethical brands and stuff like that. Really nice guy. Who I'm not meeting at 12 o'clock, clearly. So yeah, you just have to be careful on that thankful one, because if you use it too often, then people just go, oh yeah, all right. And then I've lost my mouse. Oh, there we go. And then campaign led is the other. So Kelly, this touches on your one around there is a reason to be doing this at this time. Now there are lots and lots of reasons to do this. It could be, as you say, Kelly, a shift in customer persona. And therefore it's relevant to bring that out. It could be that there is a change in product offering, rather than customer persona, just a change in product offering or a new product. It could be that there's been a change in legislation, that means it's relevant, that your service suddenly becomes extra relevant. Maybe it's a time in a time of the year, either in someone's personal life or a business life, that means, right, this, my product or service is absolutely relevant then. It could be that there's been a big bit of news that's come out. Maybe there's been a new bit of legislation, a big bit of news around restrictions being put on electronic waste, for example, Natalie. And you're like, right, bearing in mind what we said on the news, that gives you a great reason to proactively go out to your network and ask for referrals. And the other, you get a nice double-edged sword. That's a negative thing, isn't it? A double win, double bubble on this, in that what you're actually doing is selling as well. But it's much nicer to know, we're doing this. Who else do you know that needs? Who do you know that needs this? Because, well, if it's them, then they're not going to go, oh, I don't really know anyone, but it's me. But I'm not going to respond because they're not after me. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a much softer way, sell through the room, not to the room, and all that stuff.
I think that would be, the campaign led one would be handy for kind of awareness weeks and awareness months and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that, I see.
And I hate awareness weeks because blah, blah, blah. It's another session itself. But, it's also a good way of saying, although this isn't just for Christmas, it's a really good time to start thinking about it.
Yeah. So, and for me personally, I'm all about being whoever I am. And again, you judge it with your clients and what you want to do with your brand list. But I don't think, if you think it'd be more congruent to go, most of you know that I'm not a fan of these weeks, but businesses are thinking about it kind of more. So who do you know?
Yeah.
Then as long as you're being authentic, then yeah. And again, that's why I say there's no hard and fast rule here, and it will change on different communications.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it would be, worth kind of adding a bit of personality into it as well. Like, what I think about awareness months. However, it's a really good way of starting to get people interested.
Yeah.
And then it reminds people of relationships as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And so it builds into your overall marketing strategy, not just a referral one.
Yeah.
And I think there are so many overlaps with this. You can absolutely, hopefully Kelly will be back soon. I'm going to keep an eye on the Zoom room. But you can combine these for maximum impact. So like, it could be a campaign led, but then you do the campaign led with the value based thing. Like, this is in the news. So do you know anyone? Because this is how we can help them, kind of thing. So you absolutely can mix these things up. But the main thing I'd always say here is to ask properly. Don't be wishy-washy. Make it clear that you're after make it really clear that you're after an introduction. Okay. So, Megan, can you give, if you're listening in still, can you give Kelly a call and make sure she's okay? I think she's probably just dropped off, because normally if someone's got to dart off for an emergency, they'll go in the chat, won't they? But
Yeah, I can do that.
thank you, Megan. Cheers. Okay, so yeah, so are we kind of, is everyone happy on this? Does anyone any questions, any thoughts? Are we all good? All good, right. My mouse is completely, yeah, I'll have to use my clicker. Okay, so home straight now. Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh no, it's supposed to go. Oh, everything's going to pieces. My mouse is broke, and so now I'm using my clicker. Right, can anyone yeah, what do you see there? Why have I used, here we go.
It says make it easy.
Yeah, that make it easy should have come afterwards. But right. But it's here now. I don't know what's happened there. But underneath the make it easy, what can people see? Why have I used a kind of yeah, the image that I have?
Because it's like a fog, so you want to clear the fog and make it easy for people to see their route for referrals.
100% gold star.
Good
I
man.
used to use this fog analogy all the time when I ran a membership organization and I ran events. So this we're going back early 2010, so networking wasn't quite as big as it is now. I mean, it was already there, but there was lots of people that were going networking for the first time. I get asked about stuff, and we'd run these sessions where about people being specific. And so I knew lots of people, making lots of connections. But when someone said to me, "Oh yeah, I work with small business owners. Can you introduce me to some?" I didn't see any small business owners. I saw just a fog. I saw, and in fact, they're going to change this image. I'll do a load of stuff around dance now as my partner framework. I think I'm going to change it to a festival crowd. It's like that. I know so many that you just see a sea of people and you can't really pick anyone out. And that's what it's like when you're not targeted about your referrals that you're asking for. Now, I am not saying that there's power in niching your business, right? I've not been good enough at niching my own business, and I'm going to see where we do there. There is power in niching your business, right? That's not a workshop that I run, and it's another one for another time. But even if you're not going to be really specific in your business as a whole, you need to be as specific as possible when you're asking for a referral, because without that, it's not easy for someone to refer you. I would say it's better to be specific, ask 10 people, get 7 people not know anyone like that, but 3 people that do, than it is to, or maybe 3 people that do and 1 actually does it right away, than it is to ask 10 people for something really vague and you get a couple of wishy-washy introductions through. Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, the biggest change you can make is being specific about who you're looking for. What is going on? So I'm having all sorts of bother with my laptop. But you can keep it fresh. So I'm sure we've all been to, I don't know if any of you have done BNI and things like that before, and there'll be people in the room that every week, and I've only ever been as a sub and stuff, but you can tell the ones, there's people that, and every week they do the same 60 seconds, exactly the same, and ask for the same type of referral, and it just doesn't work. So while I'm saying you want to be targeted in who you're looking for, you can mix that up. And if you're struggling with this, there's a few really easy kind of things to be asking for. It's, who have you just completed some good work for? Right? That's a really obvious one, because you can go, so especially when you're dealing with a wide range of people. So Essie, it could be, yeah, well, I've just done some great work for this firm of accountants that were like that were in this situation, You know what? They find it really impactful. So it'd be great to work with some more. Do you know other people like that? Yeah. If you're actually asking, that's for asking your network or your whatever. If you're asking the person that you've just done that work for, it's who do they know that it's just like them? Or again, you think of a different bit of work, because if the person you've done work for isn't maybe as collaboratively doesn't have as much of a collaborative mindset, and they don't network within people in their industry, you need to think of another bit of work you've done for someone else that they might have a think about the other types of business owners that your customer might deal with, and try and tailor your referrals to people that you've got a good inclination that they're going to network with. If you're asking an accountant for a referral, for example, first of all, good luck. Secondly, they're probably hanging around with other professional services and things like that. Do you know what I mean? They're probably not referring you into their clients. They're hard, something to do with their hard work. They're going to be referring you to their network. To think about who they network with and try and tailor that piece to there.
So can I ask a question on that?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So just thinking of exactly your example that you just gave me just before you talk about it. Now I'm going to name drop because it's the easiest way to explain. So I've just done a big piece of work for Historic England. So would I, for example, ask for a referral for people within their sector, their heritage sector, or also would I ask for a referral for companies who are looking for similar work to them? So what we did is we created a suite of training sessions that we delivered over 6 months. So what I say to her, do you know anyone else that wants that kind of work?
Either or. And this is where you mix it up. You see what gets the best response. And this is where you gauge where is it going to be easiest for her to make that referral, and where's more specific. I think you need to tighten up there who else you know that needs this type of work. That's still quite broad. But I suppose it's not that. You'd probably maybe do have a bit more of a conversation around that one, around like, do you know other people that are in this space, kind of thing? Oh yeah, that need it. And particularly if it's someone you've just done some work with, you can maybe it's not a straight out asked question, it's a conversation around whether there's some introductions around that type of work. But it could be sector, it could be, and it could either be people in the heritage sector, or if she's maybe part of any, if she's networking with other association type bodies that maybe are similar in structure to their makeup, but not necessarily sector, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
So there's probably 3 different channels there. There's the sector, there's the type of business, and then there's just her network. The just her network is vaguer and broader, so probably needs a longer conversation. The other 2 are a little bit more defined.
Okay.
And on that one, that broader one, you can help define it by talking about the other types of business you work with.
Okay. Yeah.
So you must have done similar work you've done for her. You must have done for other businesses that isn't that different. So you can drop a couple of those in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just anything you can do to just plant that. Oh right, yeah, that. Where have you or your team got great industry experience? That's another one. If you're that sector specific thing, particularly if you, and a great reason to ask, and this can be a campaign led one, going back to that other reason to ask for referrals. If someone else comes into your team and they've got a bunch of, Kelly, if you grew your team and there was someone actually doing the doing, and they've actually got, I appreciate what you do is sector agnostic, but you might bring someone on your team who just happens to have, I suppose not, because keyword knowledge and all that stuff. They might happen to have a bunch of experience in dentistry or whatever. Like, that's a reason to ask people for a referral into any dentists they know, because actually you've just got someone in your team who's got a bunch of industry experience in that space. Yeah,
I'm just writing down my industries actually, because I am specific. I wouldn't do an accountant's SEO, for example.
Yeah.
No offense to accountants. Yeah, but yeah, it is specific.
So it's about doing that when you but pick one. If you've got 4 or 5 key sectors, each time you ask for a referral, pick one.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on the conversation. If you're having a one-to-one with someone that you know and you're talking about how you can refer each other, well, then you can be a little bit, you can kind of go, well, these are all the people I'm looking for, right? But if it's a quick thing, if it's a networking event, or you're asking your customer and you've got that shorter window, well, then you need to be tighter to make it really easy for them. And again, this comes back to what we said on the campaign led. Is there a topical opportunity? Is there a precise reason why you're looking to speak to a certain type of business because of something that's going on? And we won't go over those. We covered those before. Is everyone happy on that around the kind of where to be specific? One of the things to think about as well is, in fact, no, we're going to come on to triggers, so I'm going to cover that then. Very quickly whisk through on this one is, how do you want to be introduced? So look, do you want is it a personal introduction? If you're part of the same network and you go to face-to-face events, then you might say, oh, you know what, can you introduce me? Don't do it by email. Can you introduce me at the next lunch? Because you think, you know what, best way to be introduced, I'm great face-to-face, and I want that first impression to be me at my most resplendent kind of thing. Maybe you don't. Maybe you'd rather do the email thing and then meet them, however it may be. Do you want a personal email doing it? Is it done through LinkedIn or Facebook? If you're working with people and they're happy to send out content to a list, so those of you that are producing content, Kelly, I know you do. I don't know what Essie and Fiona and Natalie, I don't know if you do proactive content. But if someone's happy to push you out to their whole list kind of thing and push something digital out, well, then what's the lead back in there? Are they downloading are they having to enter their details to download whatever you've got, or are you sending them to a landing page on your website where they might put some information in, or kind of, so it's worth thinking of these. There might be points where it's a digital touch point, not an in-person one. Same thing on landing page. It could be, if you're sending some content out, maybe it's a Calendly link, maybe it's a specific Calendly link that someone can book a call with you on, and you know that if anyone books a call in through that link, they've come from XYZ. So where you're putting content out there, make it really easy for people for that journey of someone getting in touch with you to happen. And similar things, it could be a code. Maybe you're sending people to a generic page on your website, but the person that's referring you, they've pushed something out to their list because you're giving them a discount or an extra bit of service, or there is a reason why when someone hits your website, they would put a code in that links the person to whoever's referred you and lets you know where they've come from. Yeah, I do a similar thing on the workshop. If people put a certain code in, then there's a discount, like with the early bird things, or people would know where they came from. So just I'm sure in this instance, most of your referrals are going to come from the personal introductions, but just where you are doing content, it's worth thinking about where there's list sharing opportunities, just making sure that you've got these things tightened up. They're all pretty easy to do these days on most CRMs and web builders and things like that. So actually, coming back to that one, final point, and really, really important on how you want to be introduced, make sure that you say you want to be introduced. There is no such thing as a bad referral, but by far the worst referral in the world is when someone says to you, oh, I mentioned you to so-and-so the other day, they'll be getting in touch. So rarely do they actually get in touch. So rarely do they get in touch. So you want to make sure you're asking for an actual introduction. Okay. And the final thing on keeping easy, I'm just going to blast through if that's all right. People, what time is it? Oh no, we've got 15 minutes. Do people need a break? Because if we're going to have a break, we will do it. Actually, no, we'll do 10 more minutes. Is that all right for people? 10 minutes, and then if we need a break, we'll have a short break, and then we'll do the last little stint. Okay, you look like you're about to say something then. No? Okay, cool. So keeping it easy, triggers. Now, this is one of the things when you're looking at partners, strategic partners, and you might even want to do it with people who are not quite at that stage but are going to refer you on a consistent basis, is helping them with triggers. I call them triggers and moments in time. And these can be reactive things. So no one says the things that you say on your marketing brochures. No one's actually out there looking for a friendly, down-to-earth, no jargon speaking SEO consultant who will help your team build their perfect blah, 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 blah. People just don't say those things, right? So when you're asked, if you're putting a little bit of extra effort into someone as to what to listen out for, and when they might be referring you, what you need to do is take the problem that you solved, and flip that round to what's the pain that someone's going through when they've got that problem, and how does that manifest itself? What do they actually say and do? And then that's what you could get if there's people that are going to be actively listening, actively kind of looking out for referrals for you, that's what you want them that's what you want them to listen out for. It's, if you hear people, the perfect time to refer me is if you hear a business say this, if you hear someone say this or have a conversation about that, that's the perfect time to refer me. So it could be really simple, like we've got a pile of old PCs in the corner of our office we don't know what to do with. We don't want to throw them away. It could be, I think it's probably going to be much more positive potentially much more positive for you, Essie and Fiona. I suppose it works both ways. It could either be that someone's really looking to do more to support either their workers or their students, or it could be that they're hearing about there's certain problems either with the students themselves or maybe with the teachers or managers that they're stressed or they're struggling in a certain area. You know your business is better than I do, so I'm going to stop floundering around now. But it's really about looking at the problem that you solve. How does that pain reflect back, and what sorts of things are people actually going to be saying? Because that's the things that you want to point out to people that are going to refer you, because that's the real human stuff. That's the stories. We all hear loads, don't we, about selling through storytelling, and you should tell stories in your business. Referrals is exactly the same. If you can kind of paint a mini picture of, if you hear this thing going on, then that's the perfect time to refer me, that will stick in someone's mind. So really try and think about that. The other one on this is what I call moments in time. So this is where there are the perfect time to refer you. So if someone is maybe it's moving offices, Natalie, maybe it's they've taken on, there's a certain level of staff they're about to go through. There's something else to do with who they brought on, Essie, or they're moving into a new market. Fiona, is there term time stuff, or are there other points in a school's thing where it's, you know what, that's the time they should be having a conversation with us? I guess it might be around budgeting. I guess around funding is probably, with it being your key driver, maybe it's around that. But actually, you want to be speaking to people at this perfect time.
Yeah, it's usually sort of September, October time. Unfortunately, we would want it to be before the summer holidays, but they haven't got their shit together. So we have to wait until the end, until they come back after the summer. Then they realize they should have spoken to us before the summer. But so I think September, October time is always harder.
And so it's just strengthening, doubling down on that, on why on what your value piece is that, and so just and so understanding that and going, like, this is the perfect time. And if there are any other points along your, it's going back to that customer journey thing again. When you're going through your customer journey and thinking of all the best times to ask for referrals, at the same time try and pick out the points in the customer journey and your customer's lifestyle where actually it's super easy for you to sell to a new prospect, because that's what you want to be pointing out to your referral partners.
What do this is sort of an open question, but what do you all use to, from, you keep saying about kind of a customer journey, and obviously I know my customer's journey just because I'm personally working with them, but do any of you use any particular model or strategies to make sure you manage that, especially if you're working with like lots of customers, or is it just that it's just something you know?
So I was looking sheepish. Kelly smiled and nodded her head, so I'm going to let Kelly
I'm
answer the
so
question.
proud of myself right now. You should come along to a workshop. I can send you a link another time. But I've just done basically set it all up in Active Campaign, which is an awesome CRM. Well, can't remember what you call it, but you can send out emails, and then you can also put in all of your contacts and put them through a kind of system which gives stages of where they are within their relationship with you and stuff like that. So you can set loads of different stuff up. It's called Active Campaign.
Because I don't know if other people are guilty of this, but we kind of have things like HubSpot and things like that, but I just don't use it. And I don't know, I want to find a way of it being like really easy, really simple, without it actually consuming my time. Actually using a system sometimes takes longer than just doing it.
I can show you what I do if you want to have a little Zoom sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
I use Monday.com, I use Monday.com, which is a CRM, but I like, the reason I like it is because it's colourful and so it stands out, and I find that HubSpot is a bit boring to look at. And so I've got there's some things that are automated, but there's also some things that I can change manually, and me and my virtual assistant can both see what's going on, and we're both notified when we update something on there as well.
Yeah, no, that's really useful. Sorry, I kind of sidetracked, but I thought it was quite important.
No, absolutely.
What other people are using to get to the points that you're talking about. So
yeah, and it is important to have Mondays is great. And the thing with something like HubSpot is quite in depth. I think Active Campaign and a couple of others are probably not quite as, but you'll probably find that what you need to do you can do within HubSpot, but it's just the if it's already being paid for and stuff. One thing I would always say though, it's better to have a spreadsheet that you use than a CRM that you don't.
Yeah.
Which I think is back to your point, actually, isn't it, Fiona? Like, it's more complicated for you to use HubSpot than not, then you just don't do it, do you? So, it's it's about finding the system that works for you.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, the other thing is when people are going to be proactive. So if you've got people that are happy to actively refer you, like they're verging on partners, if you know what I mean, well then again make it easy for them by either providing them with questions that they can ask to elicit one of these comments or moments in time if they're meeting people face to face, or if they've got a list of people, give them content that they can send out. Make it easy for them. If someone is willing to proactively refer you, they've gone, you know what, I see, I'm chatting to people all the time. Yeah, you know what, this is going to be dead easy for me. And go, ask them, what can I do to help? That's amazing. Thank you so much, Dave. What can I do to help you? Would it help if I gave you a couple of key, easy questions and some content once a month? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that'd be brilliant. Wonderful. Yeah, and can you do this? Or can you do that? And you kind of go, yes, most of the time, because they're happy to actively refer you. So this is all the stuff that when you find those good referral people that might turn into a proper partner, this is where you spend the time and effort. Because if people are willing and there's the right match, then give them everything that you can to make it super easy for them. So that's the it on the make it easy, and I can't stress it enough. Kind of. There's two things here. There's being really specific about who you're looking for as you can be, or there's this stuff around being maybe less, and you can combine the two. So it could be veterinary practices that are going through a certain pain point will say this kind of thing. So you can combine them up, or you keep it broader. But doing at least one of these bits around businesses that are saying this or this, or this specific business, in some way you want to be as specific as possible, so that person that's making the referral for you just goes, oh yeah, I know that person. And just because they don't know, and for your repeat business, you can change. For your repeat customers, you can change up who you ask for on a time based, instance by instance basis. If you think you've probably only got one or two options, yeah, just have a little think in advance about the types of people they're most likely to be networked with, and steer it in that direction. Final piece on the how to ask, though. The fortune is in the follow-up. If someone says they're going to make you a referral to you, treat that like a sales lead, right? Because it is. If someone says to you verbally, yeah, I know someone, yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna, and they either mention them by name or they don't, and they've said that on the phone or over Zoom or in person, drop them an email. Drop them an email going, Kelly, it was amazing to see you the other day. Thanks so much for the offer, the referral. Really looking forward to it. So you want to follow up in that. You want to do immediate follow up, and you want to make sure that you do. You want to do immediate follow up, and you want to make sure that you're then putting. And again, we're coming back to CRMs here or spreadsheets. You make a note that that person said they were going to refer you. Now, when I said this on the last workshop that Sarah Southey was on, actually, who Natalie and Kelly, you both know, she got the ick about this, about, oh yeah, but if I've already asked and someone said they're going to do it, I don't want to chase and harass them. I'm like, yeah, but people get busy. Remember, people love to give referrals. If someone said they're going to give a referral, and then, no, don't get me wrong, you treat it like a sales lead. I hope you wouldn't hound someone who is a sales lead and phone them every day. You do it respectfully, right? And it's the same thing with referrals. And the joy of this happened where I did a LinkedIn post after the last workshop, and someone please remind me to take a screenshot because I always forget. So once I finish with the slide, someone please remind me. Sarah actually put, oh, I know someone to refer you to, bam, or she said it on the call. And then she didn't. And so I emailed her. I went, hey, Sarah, you said you had someone to refer, just checking in to give you a gentle nudge and remember. And she went, oh my God, Dave, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for reminding me because I completely forgot and I'm going to do it now. And so she'd actually gone, but then she herself was really grateful that I'd reminded her because she wanted to make that referral because people love to make referrals, but we're busy. And so we forget. And so it's not up to the referrer to remember to make the referral. It's up to you to remember to do it. It's up to you to do the heavy lifting. So if someone said they're going to make a referral, mark it down in your CRM or your spreadsheet or your bit of paper if you haven't got it, or keep it in your head. I would really recommend some kind of sales pipeline CRM thing. Mark it down as a lead that Natalie said to Kelly she knew someone who she could refer her to, and just give a gentle nudge. Fortune is in the follow-up. So last tiny bit on this before we have a quick break and then do a nice fun bit at the end. Systems and tracking. We've mentioned this already around CRMs, so this just links in again. I'll repeat myself, it's better to have a spreadsheet that you use in a CRM system that you don't. This is really, really, really super important when we get to partnerships because there's a bit more, you're probably doing things like reporting and everything else. But for your referrals at a very base level, you need to be tracking who the person is, who the referral was, what they're interested in, potential value, and the most important thing probably is where they are in that journey, where they are in the buying cycle, or if they or their customer journey. Super important to have all that down. Super important to have all that down. Whether it's Monday, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, or the back of a fag packet, wherever it may be, have it, keep that in mind, because it's the thing that we it's called the repeat referral workshop, and if you want repeat referrals, it's one of the key things is on this piece. So we are at 12:24. If we come back at 12:30 and there's a nice light, don't worry, there are 4 slides including the thank you slide left. It's nice and light, this little bit at the end. So if we have a 6-minute break, come back at 12:30 if that's okay, everyone. Yeah, cool, awesome. Okay, right. Well, the sun has just like properly come out again here. Well, and I guess for you as well, Natalie, actually. Well, maybe not. You're a few miles down the road. But...
I have no idea. There's no windows downstairs, so
well, you had to shut yourself away in a cupboard for some peace and quiet.
but at least it's cool downstairs. Upstairs gets really, really hot, so I can't see outside, but at least it's cool.
Yeah, apologies. I've had to put my fan on now, actually, because again, the sun beaming through gets really hot. So, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's take a couple of minutes. You've been having a heat wave as well, Kelly?
Yeah, but it's not so unusual for us. We always get really hot weather in the summer.
All right,
Sorry.
all right. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. And we've got really thick walls, so cool as.
Yeah. I think that's why everyone, like, we may moan that England collapses or the UK collapses when anything's too hot or too cold. It's not because we're rubbish at it. It's because we don't have the infrastructure for it. Like
It's
in
not built for
Scandinavia or in mountains, they don't mind when it snows because everyone puts tyre tracks on and all that sort of stuff. And in the hot weather, places have aircon, and like it's because we're not set up for it. We're set up for.
You're not going to keep winter tyres for 2 days, are you? No.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, right. Okay. So I mentioned about it being absolutely crucial to track this stuff if you want repeat referrals. And that's because there's a surefire way for someone who refers you to never refer you again. Well, there's 2. One of them is to do a really shit job with the referral you give them, right? But we're not doing that. I know we all deliver a wonderful service here, right? So I appreciate that's not it. The other one is to not communicate with them well. Because it's just not a good look, and particularly people who are going to, where there is the potential to refer you on a repeat basis, so they're verging on becoming one of those strategic partners in your business. If you can't clearly articulate to them, and you should be doing it proactively, but if they ask you, oh, what happened with John? Hey, Kelly, I referred John to you the other day, what happened? And you don't really know, then it's kind of saying one of 2 things. That either maybe you haven't recorded it, and if there's a commission involved in things like that, then it looks like maybe you're trying to wangle out of that, or that you're a bit incompetent and don't know your own business. Either one of those is not a good look when you're looking to get people staking their reputation by referring you. So communication is absolutely key. And the thing is, it's super easy to do, right? You just need to have a process behind it. And it's going to come back again, like if you can have that within a CRM or project management tool like Monday, whatever, then wonderful. The starting point for it, though, is just having it in your head and going, you know what, this is important. The first step is understanding how important it is and appreciating that. and then yeah, obviously it's much better to have those checkups in place. I'm going to go run through what I would do, because I think that's the easiest way to describe it. So, and I'm going to base this on an email introduction referral, which for me is kind of outside of physically in person, because you're at an event. An email introduction is always the best one because you own the relationship, you've got their details, etc., etc. So I always reply to both people, but the person that made the referral, I'll move them to BCC. So I'll reply to both people, say thank you to the person that referred, and I'll give a short depending on how much context has been built into the original referral. Yeah, depends on how much I say, but normally it's pretty short, and it's inviting the person that I've been referred to jump on a call so we can say hey, kind of thing. From there, so yeah, remove the referral. I would always, it's the person that referred you doesn't need to be on every single bit of your email chain in the vast majority of instances, right? So be the one that does it. But if you have moved them to, let's say you moved them to BCC on that first instance, I would make a note that you've done that. Otherwise the other person thinks, well, hey, they're not there, kind of thing. So call it out. After that point, when they're out of it, the next time something substantial happens, let them know. Doesn't have to be anything too formal, but just drop them a quick line. Let them know that if the meeting's been booked, or if the meeting's been booked and it's going to happen really quickly, well, then you can kind of maybe skip the meeting's been booked one and go, right, just had my call with Katie. It was went really well. This is what the next steps are. If you can't get hold of them, or there's nothing to be done for a while, again, let the referrer know that, right? If it's like, oh, interesting, but they've just gone with a different provider for this particular education need, but actually they've got some more budget that they think is going to come for the Easter term, and so we're going to be getting back in touch with them then, for example. So like, even if it's a delayed thing, let the person know that. Don't leave your referrers wandering. And then whenever it gets to its and if it's a really long period of time, you don't need to be updating your referrer every month to go, yeah, still not spoken to them because of this, but just keep them in the loop. Then when it concludes, let the person know. Now, there's 3 ways that I think a referral can be concluded successfully, in that you're doing business, or something is going to happen. So you can say thank you. Or you say thank you no matter what, but you can go, this is happening, awesome. Nothing's happening, and so, but still let the referrer know that's nothing happening. If it's been unsuccessful, then still let them know, and let them know the reason why. Maybe it's because the referral wasn't quite right, in which case it gives you a chance to educate the referrer on what could be better. Maybe it's one of those smaller organizations that you're not quite going for anymore, Kelly, and so budget was an issue or whatever, and so it's an education point of view. Still say thank you, but you can still educate them. The other way is that the referral never gets back to you. In that instance, what I normally do is, let's say I've dropped a couple of messages to the referral and they haven't got back to me. My final message, I'll copy the original referrer back in on it and just go, hey James, tried a few times now to get in touch. I take it it's not obviously not top of your list at the moment, which is completely fine. I don't want to hassle you. I'll leave the ball in your court, here whenever you're ready, Dave, kind of thing. And I'll copy the original referrer in so that they can see, that way the referrer has seen that I have been chasing and that's what's happened. At the end of all that, and then there's the reward piece. So if you have that conversation. If it's the first time someone's made a referral, then you say thank you, you do whatever you're going to do. You give them that personal gift, or if they're getting commission, you pay them their commission. You do whatever you're going to do. If businesses have been passed, you do whatever you're going to do at the end of all that. That's what I would do. You could do something different if you wanted. I'm not exactly sure what different you would do. I'm suggesting you don't. I'm suggesting you keep your referral partners well informed. And be honest, that's actually a side note. If you have just clashed with the other person, there is not a match in personalities at all, then just be honest about it. I would say honesty is always the best policy, because it's better that you front up that conversation than they hear it secondhand from the other person. Because you can then control the narrative of it. I'm not saying you blame the other person, but what I mean is you can be grown up and dignified about the fact that, you know, it could be that the businesses were a personal match, but you just didn't feel, and that might be right at that first meeting when you say how it went. You can go, you know what, it's a perfect referral. I'm not sure we clicked though. Great referral. I'm not sure how well we clicked, and it could just be that, and then it might fizzle out. You know, so honesty is always the best policy, I find, within reason. Yeah. All good with that. As I said, you'll get all the slides. You'll get all this put in place. The other thing that I want to just touch on referral communications before we kind of do the secret tip and wrap up piece is about sharing the love. So say thank you. Always say thank you. Say thank you when you get the referral. Say thank you when it concludes. Even if it wasn't right, you still say thank you because they've made the effort. You say really thanks for the referral. Wasn't quite right because of this, and you do that education piece. The business wasn't quite the right size. They weren't in the right stage. They didn't have the budget. Whatever it may be, still say thank you. Always say thank you. I would do that in person. So make sure it's ideally, if you picking up the phone to them is great. Email's fine. Picking up the phone to them is even better. And this is all tying into how you get more referrals. The more gracious you are, the more grateful you are for a referral, the more of a buzz that other person's going to get. The more of a buzz the other person gets for making the referral, the more likely they are to make referrals for you. That sounds cold-hearted, and it's not. You should do this stuff because it's nice to do. The benefit of it is not only is it an enjoyable, nice thing to do to say thank you, but it's got its perks of it. You'll get to say thank you more often because I'll keep referring you. So do it because it's nice. And it's what you should do. The benefit is that you'll get more referrals when you do it as well. So it's a double win. So you can also do it in public. Again, you need to be careful with this one. If every single day or every other week, if the only thing your social posts are is thanking people for referrals, then it just gets a bit monotonous, and it's obvious that you're doing it. And also, not everyone will want to be publicly thanked. In fact, the IT managed service provider I worked with recently, who Kelly and Natalie know, they didn't. Why could they not publicly? There was a reason why they couldn't publicly thank someone for a referral into the business, and I can't remember what it was, but it was really valid, and it was to do with the very thing that they do, to do with internet security and stuff. Can't remember what it was.
Security.
And it was to do with that. So you need to. So A, there might be issues when doing it. B, the other person might not be that type of person where they want to be publicly thanked, but you will get people that would actually shout out on social media or within a newsletter. They'll absolutely love. And again, it plays the double bone. Well, there's a triple win on that one. It's a nice thing to do, and the other person will like it, which means they're more likely to refer you. And also, you're promoting the fact that you get referrals, and it just gets other people thinking about it. I wouldn't thank just a referral in general, unless you've got a top referrer that you might, if you're running referral programs, and you might every month go, big thanks to Natalie this month, who was our top referrer. She referred 5 people in. If you're doing specific referrals or something like social, it would be when a new customer joined. So the post might be about the fact that you've got this great new school that you're working with, this great new business that you're doing disability training with, whatever it may be. And the footnote is huge thanks for Dave for an awesome referral on this one. Really, really appreciated. Has that just answered your question, Kelly?
Yeah, basically. Okay. I was just thinking, how do you make something like that interesting for a newsletter, but you're right, if you actually switch the content upside down and then put the thanks.
Yeah, or you might take someone to lunch for a one-to-one meeting because they've given you a referral, and then it's that, oh, lovely to catch up to with Thingy today. He's been passed us loads of referrals, so I thought I'd take him out to lunch. So you can
Flight
do
to
you
France.
You what? Sorry.
Flight to France.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, yeah. So you can either work the social angle in of it, or you make it about the person that they referred, and there in there is the footnote.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, you and it's the same as like the thankful tone in when you're asking for referrals. You can't do this too much, otherwise it just seems insincere and not genuine. And again, just make sure that the people you're looking at doing it for actually want that. The other thing for getting repeat referrals is communication is key, which is building back on that previous one. When you get a referral, respond to it quickly. Because the other person's stake their reputation. Again, it's not up to, if it's a joint referral, take the ownership of it. It's up to, even when it's a partner one, so it's less of you're the salesperson, that's a joint opportunity, still be the person that jumps on the email or however the introductions were made. Respond quickly, keep update on progress, deliver well. That's the three things for getting repeat referrals from people. The asking is the hardest part. Once you've got over that and you know what, when, and how to ask, the getting them on a consistent basis from the same people is pretty simple. You've just got to do what you do it well. So yeah. Are we all good on that? Okay. So, final piece. Secret tip to being super referable and getting them is to give them. Give them often, give them openly. Be that person that just gives freely and openly. And it doesn't have to be leads. If you're that person that whenever someone says when you think, oh, I know who'd like that book, or I know who'd like that event, or I know who would just be a good, interesting person to talk to, or there's a good partner for them. If whenever you've got an opportunity to make a connection of any type of thing, you do it. Now, with caveats, like we've got businesses to run, and we've got business to win, and we've got delivery to make, right? We can't be completely altruistic, right? But by just kind of honestly, it's a BNI thing, and the second time I've mentioned them today, but givers gain, it's true, right? So, and there's no harm in doing that openly. So if you're in a networking meeting going, oh, right, actually, Kelly, I know, like, remind me, even if it's in the chat, going, Kelly, remind me to make this introduction, right? Could I have just done that, made the introduction to you after the event without mentioning it? Yes, I could. So am I being a bit deliberately and salesy there? Probably. Would I? Fine, I want to grow my business. My business does good things.
I think that sounds all right. Yeah,
so you know what I mean. It's there and it's in the moment. And by you writing it, you're more likely to actually remember it as well. Now, again, if every single meeting you're ever in, you're doing that 5 times a meeting in the chat, it's probably going to be a bit over the top, right? But where there are opportunities to subtly show off that you are genuinely thinking of other people consistently, there's no harm in doing it. You're doing a good thing. So if doing a good thing allows you to grow your business, which allows you to do more good things, then hey, let's not be shy about that. Okay, that's it. We're over time. Oh, perfect. Right, we've got 12 minutes for wrap up. So what I would like so final questions. Any final questions, thoughts, things that people want to discuss before I come on to conclusions on what you beautiful people are going to do next? Essie, yes.
Sorry, my finger wasn't working properly. So going back to one of the things I said right at the beginning about, a specific case, I mean, sorry, not talking properly. So I have a potential client who really wants to have me on her panel, but she can't afford what we charge. Usually I would just say no, but I kind of want to do it. But at the same time, I don't want to undervalue the value that I give to other people by lowering my price just because I want to. So is there a referral incentive?
Yeah, I think there is. And huge apologies, Essie. I should have covered that in the reward piece.
No, don't worry about it.
So yes, this comes under the reward piece. This is where it's very, very easy to have a commercial conversation. Essentially, she wants something from you, so you want her to put some proactive effort into referring you into other businesses. I think there's no issue of having that conversation with her. What will then happen? This is the grey area on this. Will be: do you want to see one of those referrals in first to start seeing the value before you do any work? Are you willing to do depends on what the work is.
So it's work that I'm not going to have to put any effort into doing. It's a panel. So literally I rock up and answer a few questions. The panel's for 20 minutes. So they're going to pay my expenses, obviously. I'm going to do an overnight stay as well because it's Liverpool, but there's no pre-work that I need to put into it at all.
Okay. So it's nice work. It's work that you love doing. Is one up. So in that instance, it's relatively low risk financially. It's more professional pride positioning kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, less pride, more reputation. I mean,
that's it. Sorry, that's the word.
I'll lower the price if people want me to.
Yeah, that's it. Right, that's the word I meant. Then yeah, I think have that conversation with her. It's a very easy to have a commercial conversation then, because she's asking for something for you, so you can ask her for something back. The decision to be made will be around whether she thinks she's able to make the types of introductions that you're looking for.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, so write a very specific email asking her specifically to think about whether she thinks she would be able to make specific referrals.
I would, if it you could do it by email, I would do it over a conversation. It sounds like it's something to have over a conversation. Because you can say to her, look, you can then do the positioning of, I want to work with you, but these are my prices. However, and you could use this workshop as an excuse. Because actually, I'm building out my referral things, my referral program and processes. One way we could offset this is if you think you're going to be, if you think you could be able to make some introductions for me that would lead to paid work, and then you could talk about the sort of introductions you're looking for and go, do you think you'll be able to do those now? And if she's confident and you're confident that she's being genuine, then boom, it's working. So I think absolutely because it is easy work and it's work you want to do. I think the value in using this as an approach, I'd go for it if I were you, Essie, and she'll feel obligated. It's that powerful one again. You'll do something really cool for her, so she will want to do it. She'll want to do it because you're awesome, and she'll feel a bit obligated to do it. There's commitment there, so I'd go for it. And then you get to do what you want to do as well, and you get to do it without any feeling of like, oh. So yeah, no, I'd go for it.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. That's what I did already, because she emailed me while I was on annual leave last week and said we can't match your prices. So I emailed her back on Tuesday and said, look, I'm having a marketing conversation later this week, and I'll get back to you after that. So I did primer for this kind of.
Oh, perfect. Oh, awesome. Well then, yeah, I'm sure that conversation will go really well. Really, really well.
All right. Thanks very much.
Right. So you know what I am going to do, Command Shift 4. Where's my little thingy? Right, I'm going to ask for smiles and waves. Smiles and waves for screenshot, please. There we go. Thank you very much. All right, so that's done. I'm going to remember that. Does anyone object to me tagging you in a post when at some point? No, awesome. Thank you. Right, what I want from you is a key takeaway, please, in terms of this was a thing that was awesome, but also more importantly, 1, 2, or 3 things that you're actually going to go away and do. Because I didn't start this business 2.5 years ago to just spout out information. I did it because I want to make people's businesses more enjoyable. And if you sort out your lead gen, your business is more enjoyable, right? Because most people don't like doing lead gen. And so I do it because I want people to actually take action when I work with them. So you'll be getting phone calls from me to go, did you do these things? So I would like to know what you're going to do on the back of this so I can then hold you account. I scribbled a couple of things down that you mentioned earlier already, but Natalie, straight in there, awesome.
Since I know you're already going to ask me about it, I'm going to contact the 2 people that I thought of.
Yeah.
And I'm also, when doing networking I'm going to have a more specific idea of who I want as a referral, because I have got a horrible habit of just going like, just anyone with IT, just everybody, which like say just makes it that everyone just goes, well, I'll reshare your post, but I haven't got anyone in mind that's good for you. So I think about like honing in our target audience and asking for someone a bit more specific. But to be honest, I've got about 5 pages of notes, so there's more than that. They're my 2 things, but they're the main 2 things.
Awesome. Anyone else ready? Happy to share, Fiona? Yep.
I think for me, the kind of conversation around adding value in a way that isn't kind of just a one-off thing. So definitely going to be looking into more detail into kind of what we offer and then how it's slightly longer term than just in and out in a day.
Yeah.
Because I think that will help make a bit. I think it's around the building relationships that I've taken from it, is that with certain things we offer, we have the opportunity to build relationships, but there are other things where it is a bit of an in and out kind of thing, and you don't really have a relationship with a school. So therefore, why would you expect them to necessarily give you a referral when you've just been in for 5 hours and not seen them again for another year?
Yeah.
So I've taken that away. Also, you mentioned about having like something on the website, so like an information box on a landing page, so a way of them putting their details in, and then like us putting something out and then them coming and putting their details in specifically, so we know it's come from the referral.
Yeah.
Something around that, but around the kind of using a landing page on a website as a way of getting detail from the customer, which we haven't got, because we've just set up a landing page, but we haven't got anything that anyone can kind of fill out information or even access something like the whole give side of it as well, is that we could give a session plan for free and then build on from that. So there's a few like really good little things that have come out today. Thank you.
Awesome. And I think with charity, typically there's an even closer correlation with people with their marketing strategy than there is with either public or private sector, actually. So awesome. And last but not least, no, I've only done 2 overnight. Essie, you have got your hand up yet?
So first of all, contact that woman and about that thing. And again, I agree with the value add. I think that's really helpful, really hone down and write down the extra bits that we add without even thinking about it. And just having a structure for asking for referrals. So it's not, and I need to remember that. It becomes a natural part of the business cycle. I think it'll be really handy, and adding that extra CRM for referrals onto our existing CRM would be helpful, I think.
Awesome. And Kelly?
Same with me, really updating Active Campaign and making sure I've got referrals in there, who's been referred and all of that, and putting that into a whole pipeline. So, and then I think also tagging the people that are already on my list, so I know what industry they're in and when to send them emails to find out, to figure out well, to ask for referrals. Pushing, well, or asking people to share my content, because obviously I know people struggle with their own content. So why aren't I saying, put my content out to your people, it'll help you. Pushing my new products out, and then also getting a gift for someone who's recently given me a big referral, and I've got a gift in mind and can't wait to send it over to her. So I think that'd be great.
Awesome. And how is your ick? After 3.5 hours on working on various things, are you actually going to be asking? And Essie, this one comes to you as well, because are we more comfortable about why we should be asking, and that it's fine to ask now?
Yeah, I feel stupid for not asking. You know what I mean? As in, I've got balls and I'm going to do this. I don't want to just be that person that's like, oh no. Yeah, definitely. It's gone.
Awesome. Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome, awesome.
Me too. I think part of my ick was not having a clear strategy and a clear structure. And
Exactly
I've gone for a structure. So now that I've got a structure, I think it'll be easier, because it'll just be part of that conversation.
Awesome. So final thing from me is going to be a request. Obviously, it's a repeat referral workshop. So, if you would like to say, so I would, I will be making phone calls just to see how you've got on. Would love at that point to just get some feedback on the course that I'll then turn into a testimony that I'll send back to you and make sure you're happy with it. So I've got some testimony. If you would like to say anything nice about me on LinkedIn, then obviously that's appreciated. There will be, if there's anyone that you think should be added into that could do with connecting with me, that again is always appreciated. There will be another one of these in end of September. So as far as referrals go, when that date is firmed up and the page is live, if you know of anyone that kind of would get value from this session, then of course it's always really appreciated if you can nudge them in my direction. So on that note, with it being bang on 1 o'clock, because you should never overrun, I am going to say thank you ever so much. I'm really glad to hear you got value from it. You have been a wonderful bunch to work with, and I look forward to hearing about kind of all your progress. So yes, have a wonderful rest of your days.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for your time, Dave.
Bye.